Power bends toward what is rare, not what is loud, not what is flashy, what is scarce. The moment something feels limited, our attention sharpens, desire wakes up, and value rises. That is the rule of scarcity. And the people who know it do not hustle harder. They simply make less available. Think about it. The longest lines are never outside the emptiest rooms. The velvet rope is not decoration. It is a signal. Invite-only lists, limited drops, short windows, small batches, all of them create gravity. When access is rationed, the crowd will sell itself on the worth of getting in. You can see it in nightclubs, product launches, even in the way a great leader handles their calendar. The things they touch become precious because they are not everywhere, all the time. Scarcity does not mean deception, it means intention. Limit the right thing, and you expand its perceived value. Limit attention and your words hit harder. Limit your presence and your entrance matters. Limit your offers and your price holds firm. You are not starving the world. You are training it. A painter I know used to release every piece the moment it dried. Sales were slow, prices stagnant. Then they chose 12 works for the year, released in 4 small waves, each with a simple rule. When a wave sells out, the next goes up slightly in price. No fake countdowns, no gimmicks. Just careful limits and clear expectations. Within 2 cycles, the list doubled. People rearranged their schedules for release day. The art did not change, the frame of scarcity did. The same logic works with time. A consultant who answers emails at all hours will always be kept busy, but rarely respected. One who replies in distinct windows with clear boundaries and a finite number of client slots per quarter gets treated like a professional whose attention is worth aligning to. Scarcity makes people self-edit before they reach out. They think a little harder, prepare a little better, and value what they receive more. If you manage a team, your time and praise are currencies. If you dish them out without shape, they get ignored. Hold weekly office hours for deep dives, not 1,000 quick pings. Reserve public recognition for the behaviors you want copied, not for everything that is merely competent. Your scarcity will sculpt the culture more than any speech. Information can be scarce, and so can silence. The room leans forward when you stop talking just before the point you intend to make. That pause is a scarce space. People pour their attention into it. The same is true for your yes. The more reflexively you agree, the less weight your agreement carries. Say yes to fewer things, and your commitments become promises everyone believes. The rule of scarcity cuts 2 ways, so respect it. Artificial scarcity that insults intelligence destroys trust. If you say you only have 5 spots, have only 5. If you close the door at midnight, close it. People forgive constraints. They do not forgive games. Use scarcity to guide behavior, not to trap it. Start small. Choose one area where abundance has dulled perception. Maybe it is the way you publish your work, the availability of your calendar, or the number of discounts you offer. Reduce by half. Add a clear reason. A short window keeps quality high. A capped cohort keeps coaching intimate. A finite run makes production possible. Tell the truth about your limit and then enforce it. Then, make your attention the rarest resource you control. Put your phone face down during conversations. End meetings 5 minutes early and leave without lingering. Deliver fewer, clearer messages and repeat them until they stick. Watch how quickly people start leaning in, anticipating the next time they can access your focus. In a world drowning in more, the power lies with less. When something is everywhere, it belongs to no one. When something is scarce, it becomes a prize. Decide what you will hold back. Protect it, price it, and present it with purpose. The crowd will always chase the last open seat, the final word, the closing bell. Be the one who controls when the bell rings. Power rarely shouts. It whispers in separate rooms. It does not break you with a hammer, it hands you matching knives and says, choose. Divide and conquer is the quiet engine behind a lot of authority that looks effortless from the outside. It is not just an ancient military tactic, it is a daily office memo, a secret bonus structure, a selective calendar invite. The rule is simple. If people ever figured out they want the same thing, they might ask for it together. So, power teaches them they want different things, and it teaches them fast. Picture a young company that started with one dream. Everyone sat at the same scratch table, pulled the same late nights, laughed at the same broken coffee machine. Then growth arrives, and someone at the top, worried about losing control, makes a few innocent changes. 2 projects are announced with overlapping goals and the same deadline, but only one budget. Performance reviews add mysterious leadership potential criteria that no one can define. A private message praises one team for being disciplined and calls the other creative but chaotic. The compliments feel good, the labels stick. Soon you hear it in the hallways. They care more about Polish than people. They waste time on brainstorming while we ship. Small differences inflate like parade balloons. Sharing knowledge feels risky. People start hoarding context and inventing theories about what the other side is doing in secret. By the time a big decision arrives, no one argues about what is right. They argue about who is right. And the person upstairs, the one who set the table this way, smiles at the seats that are now easy to rearrange. The tactic works because it weaponizes 3 very human vulnerabilities. We fear scarcity, we love recognition, and we hate being left out. Tell 2 capable groups that there is only enough oxygen for one, and watch them race to be the favorite. Privately reinforce each side's identity, and they will defend the label like a homeland. Hide key information in different silos, and insinuations will do the rest. A fractured room is a quiet room, and quiet rooms are easy to rule. There are tells. When someone discourages direct conversations, to keep things efficient, you are being divided. When identical problems get measured with different yardsticks, you are being divided. When a leader praises people for healthy competition, but refuses to define what winning actually means, you are being divided. And when your calendar is full of meetings about the other group, instead of meetings with the other group, you already know. So, what do? You widen the lens before the wedge sets. Share context sideways, not just upward. Compare notes with the people you are being politely pitted against. Name the wedge out loud, without blame. I think we are being set up to compete for the same oxygen. Can we define the goal together? Ask for one problem statement and one set of success criteria that everyone can live with. Refuse to accept false scarcity when abundance is a matter of scheduling, not resources. When someone tries to make you fight over credit, focus on impact. When gossip arrives, reply with invitations. Let's loop them in and hear it together. If you lead, design for unity, not unanimity. Give competing ideas a single arena with clear rules. Make information default to open. Celebrate handoffs as loudly as heroics. Reward anyone who turns 2 competing roadmaps into one better route. This is not softness, it is structural hardening against manipulation. In a system built for alignment, divide and conquer has nowhere to hide. And if you are inside a place that refuses this, remember the last rule, the powerful hope you never learn. Divisions are most brittle right before they break. Coalitions look impossible until the moment they become inevitable. Start with one shared conversation, one bridge, one refusal to play a rigged game. Make it a habit, then a culture, then a norm. You do not have to agree on everything to stand together on the important things. Power that needs you separated is terrified of your first joint sentence. Speak it, then keep speaking until the walls start listening. Power does not introduce itself with a smile. It walks in, and the room adjusts. The hidden rule beneath that shift is simple. Fear goes first. Not cruelty, not rage, not chaos. Fear as in the immediate awareness of consequence. Before respect, before trust. The first signal of power is the subtle feeling that if a line is crossed, a cost will follow. People sense it in posture, in pacing, in how easily you give your time, in whether your boundaries are suggestions or doors that do not open without a knock. Fear works because it is fast. Your brain scans for risk quicker than it appreciates kindness. In a crowded boardroom or a buzzing group chat, politeness is background noise. Consequence is thunder. When you lead with fear, you do not terrorize, you clarify. You make the edges of the map visible, even if the details inside come later. Think of the leader who answers last, not out of ego, but to let everyone reveal their hand. Silence, held for a few breaths longer than comfortable, becomes a mirror. Someone fills it, someone overpromises, someone reveals they came unprepared. Without raising a voice, the standard is felt. That is fear first. A calm refusal to soften reality. A willingness to let consequences speak without embroidery. It is the coach who says, "I do not promise fairness, I promise standards." It is the manager who says, "The deadline is a wall, not a suggestion," and then does not move it when the first storm arrives. It is the entrepreneur who declines a meeting without apology because access is valuable, and value is what people treat with care. People learn your limits by bumping into them. They remember your limits when it hurts a little. Fear first does not mean you must be the loudest voice or the harshest critic. In fact, the loudest are often compensating. Power whispers and gets the same result. A short, direct no is more potent than an essay of rationalizations. A raised eyebrow can do more than a rant. An action taken once, consistently, builds more quiet fear than 1,000 warnings. That is another hidden rule. Threats decay the moment they are not enforced. Consequences compound the moment they are. The ethical line is simple. Aim the fear at outcomes, not at people's dignity. Tie the cost to choices, not to identity. You are not trying to shrink anyone. You are making the game real. Say what is non-negotiable, then stop arguing about it. Let your calendar reflect your values. Do not over-explain a boundary you will not move. If you say a project loses funding when it misses the mark twice, let it lose funding. If you say gossip ends careers on your team, then the next time it surfaces, end the access that enabled it. People listen once you demonstrate that words have gravity. There is a second half. Fear begins the relationship. Fairness sustains it. After the edges are felt, you feed respect with consistency. You learn names, you give credit, you listen fully, but do not invert the order. Give all your warmth up front, and you invite negotiation where you need clarity. Set the edge first, share the fire second. If you are not comfortable projecting fear, start small. Shrink your availability. Respond slowly to nonsense and swiftly to substance. Arrive on time and leave on time. Ask one hard question and leave it hanging until you receive a real answer. Cut one rule that never mattered and enforce one rule that always did. Remember that confusion is expensive. Clarity is free and frightening in the best way. People want leadership that feels like a good storm. It knocks down the weak branches and leaves the strong trees standing taller. When you lead with consequences, you are not creating panic. You are creating posture. The room will adjust. The noise will quiet. The standards will rise to meet you. Fear first. Let it be the lock on the door. Then, once the room has learned the shape of the walls, choose who gets the key. Control the flow, and you control the game. Power hides in motion, in the way words move through a room, in the timing of asks, in the rhythm of silence and response. Most people chase outcomes. The ones who win guide currents. Start with time. The person who sets the pace sets the frame. When others rush, slow the tempo. Breathe, measure your voice, and let a calm pause widen the space around your words. That pause is not empty. It is a current that pulls the room toward your timing. When others stall, accelerate with a crisp line like, "Here's the next step," followed by a clear action. You become the metronome everyone follows. Then, flow of attention. Attention is the currency behind every decision. Claim it early with a simple frame. This is what matters, and this is why. Keep it narrow. Most conversations drown in side channels. When the current splits, bring it back with, "To land this, we only need to decide A or B." If someone derails the path, thank them, park the point, and route the current back to the main channel. The power move is not louder volume, it is cleaner direction. Information is water, not gold. Hoard gold, and it sits. Direct water, and it moves things. Share just enough to move the decision you want. Sequence matters. Lead with context, then stakes, then ask. People decide in arcs, not piles. If you flood with facts first, you create turbulence. If you drip the right facts in the right order, you create glide. Control the entry points. Whoever opens the meeting shapes the riverbed. Start with a frame that names the goal, the constraint, and the path. Try this. Our goal is X. Our constraint is Y. So we will do A, then B, then decide C. Do it in one calm breath. You have built the channel. Everything after either flows with it or feels like a diversion, which you can gently redirect. Own the handoffs. Decisions die in the space between moments. Close each segment with a clear baton pass. Here is what we agreed. Here is who owns it. Here is when it lands. Soft power lives in these edges. People trust the person who closes loops because they reduce friction for everyone else. When you reduce friction, you quietly rise. Use silence as a tool, not a threat. After you ask for what you want, stop. Count a slow 3 in your head. That silence invites the other person to fill the space, and they will often fill it by leaning toward your ask. If you jump in, you break the pressure gradient you just created. Let the current work. Create options, but not too many. 2 or 3 paths keep attention focused while preserving a sense of agency. Say, we can move fast with slight risk, move steady with moderate certainty, or wait and gather more signal. Name the trade-offs in plain language. When you shape the options, you shape the decision. People dislike being pushed, but they appreciate being guided through clarity. Control inputs, then outputs. Protect your focus windows. Gate your inbox and calendar like you would a dam. Block time for deep work and put decision slots after it when your mind is clear. When they ask for an urgent meeting that breaks your flow, offer the nearest boundary that suits you. People respect boundaries that are stated calmly and early. They follow the path you draw. In group dynamics, hold the rhythm stick. Rotate speaking turns intentionally. Pull quiet voices forward and give dominant voices a time box. When it feels like a duel, make it a chorus by returning to shared goals. You are not playing hero. You are conducting traffic so everyone arrives faster. That is power that earns allies. In negotiation, shift from positions to pace. If they anchor high or low, do not argue the number, argue the sequence. Say, before we talk numbers, let's align on scope and success metrics. You just moved the conversation upstream, where leverage is stronger. After alignment, numbers often solve themselves. When conflict heats, lower the water temperature. Speak slower. Shorten sentences. Name what is true without blame. The current of emotion cools when someone models steadiness. People crave a stable shore in a storm. Be that shore, and they will drift toward your terms. Finish with gravity. Summarize in one sentence. Assign the next move, and set the time. Then leave first. The person who knows when to exit preserves authority. You are not fleeing. You are sealing the channel so the current carries your work forward. Control the flow, not the people. Guide the currents of time, attention, and information, and results start arriving where you intend. The rule is quiet, almost invisible, and once you feel it, You cannot unsee it. Pick a card, any card. The magician smiles because the choice feels free, but the trick is already set. Your fingers hover, drawn to one option by invisible cues, and you swear you decided. That feeling is the illusion of choice. It is everywhere, not because you cannot decide, but because someone designed the way you decide. Walk down a grocery aisle. Dozens of cereal boxes, bright colors, a riot of variety. Many are owned by the same few companies, placed at your eye level because a contract paid for that privilege, and the shelf at the end of the row whispers urgency with a limited time sign. Open your phone. A pop-up offers accept or decline, but the design nudges your thumb toward the bright green button. News feeds present two sides locked in combat, each loud, each urgent, while the quiet third path never appears. It feels like a buffet. It is a tasting menu. Here is a hidden rule of power. The side that frames the menu usually wins. Not because their option is better, but because they decide what you see, when you see it, and how hard it is to pick anything else. They limit the frame. They stack the deck. They control the clock. Limiting the frame sounds like this. You can pick safety or freedom, growth or fairness, tradition or progress. Clean split, tidy story, no messy middle. You feel informed because the debate is hot, but the terms were set before you arrived. The window of acceptable choices is a stage set, and the props decide the play. If the third chair never makes it to the table, nobody sits in it. Stacking the deck is sneakier. 3 coffee sizes, and the middle one is a decoy built to make the largest seem like the smartest bargain. A streaming plan with a strangely bad option that exists only to steer you to the one they want. A job offer with a juicy salary, and a non-compete clause that costs more than the raise is worth. The choice feels personal, but the architecture is doing the lifting. Controlling the clock turns your attention into leverage. Countdown timers push urgency. Trials expire on a weekend when support is thin. Refund windows are short, renewals are long, and by the time you notice the charge, inertia has already voted yes for another year. When the clock is not on your side, the house has an edge. So, how do you break the spell? Start by widening the frame. When you hear either or, ask what is missing. When a form forces a yes or no, look for a third button, or create one by leaving the page, by calling, by writing, by refusing to play in that box. Trace the incentive. Who gains if you pick quickly, and who gains if you wait? If everything points you one way, try removing the decoy. Imagine the same choice without the flashy middle option, without the countdown, without the default checked box. Does your preference change? If it does, the choice was nudged, not chosen. Slow the clock. Make waiting your secret weapon. 24 hours turns fireworks into candles. Urgency decays, clarity grows, and you see the strings. Keep a simple rule. If it cannot survive a day, it was never worth your lifetime. Build leverage by building alternatives. 1 option is a trap, 2 is a dilemma. 3 begins to look like freedom. Learn to walk away, not as a tantrum, but as a policy. The power to say no reshapes every table you sit at. Share information with others, because power hides in silence and dissolves in daylight. When you name the trick loses heat. The illusion of choice thrives on speed, scarcity, and spectacle. Real choice lives in patience, perspective, and practice. You will still choose, but now, with your hands on the deck. The hidden rule becomes simple. If you do not set your own menu, someone else will serve you theirs. So, pause, breathe, and widen the frame. Pick your card, not the one placed for you. And if the table is rigged, stand up, carry your chair, and start a new game where your options are not a performance, but a decision. Power rarely shouts, it trains. The people who quietly shape rooms don't win with speeches, they win with patterns. They know a simple truth that most overlook. What you reward repeats. What you quietly allow multiplies. And what you calmly, consistently discourage fades. That is the hidden lever labeled reward and punish. Here is the reframe. Reward is not just praise and perks. It is attention, access, and opportunity. Punish is not drama or rage. It is the removal of benefits, a boundary applied without heat. The aim is not to hurt, it is to teach. Power, at its wisest, is a teacher. Picture a weekly meeting. Sam cuts people off. Jordan waits their turn. The usual move is to scold Sam in the moment, which makes the air go heavy and the meeting spiral. The quiet power move is different. You say, "I want to hear Jordan out. Thanks for holding the floor." You just paid Jordan in status in front of everyone. After the meeting, you talk to Sam privately. Calm voice. Jumping in early is costing us good ideas. Next week, hold responses until the speaker finishes. Then you follow through. If Sam keeps interrupting, you don't explode. You stop calling on Sam first. You schedule them later. You slow their access until the norm changes. Reward the behavior you want more of, and make the unhelpful behavior a little more expensive, quietly and reliably. Psychologically, positive reinforcement makes repeated behavior more likely, while measured consequences reduce it without creating open warfare. Take a personal example. A friend routinely cancels last minute. If you keep making it easy, rescheduling, over-accommodating, you are rewarding flakiness. So you stop holding prime spots for them. You invite them to low-stakes plans until reliability shows up again. When they do follow through, you notice it and give them more of your trust. You are not being harsh. You are training the relationship toward respect. This taps reciprocity. People tend to mirror the treatment they receive, and when reliability is consistently noticed, it grows. With yourself, the rule is just as sharp. If focus gets only pressure and self-criticism, it will hide from you. Pair deep work with earned recovery, and your brain will learn that showing up brings something good. Psychologically, linking effort to meaningful reward builds self-efficacy and persistence. The flip side is removing frictionless temptations that punish your worst habits by making them harder to access. You are not bribing yourself. You are shaping the path so your better self wins by default. There are a few subtleties the powerful never forget. First, reward the behavior, not just the result. Praise the way someone prepared the brief or the way they handled pushback, not only the final win. It teaches a repeatable path instead of a lucky outcome and preserves autonomy, which makes people more cooperative, not defensive. Second, vary your rewards. When appreciation looks identical every time, the brain adapts and the impact dulls. Switching the form, public credit one time, meaningful feedback another, keeps it alive. That is how you beat habituation, the mind's tendency to stop noticing repeats. Third, deliver consequences privately, proportionately, and immediately. Not theatrical, not delayed. A consequence that is late or emotional teaches fear, not standards. A consequence that is clear and timely teaches the boundary and preserves dignity, which keeps motivation intact. A quiet reminder about silence. It is not neutral. Silence is a reward when it follows good work and space is given for ownership. Silence is also a punishment when you withdraw access after a breach. Either way, you are communicating. If you say nothing when someone crosses a line, you just paid them with permission. If you say something specific when someone does it right, you just banked the culture you want. This is how the hidden rules play out in the wild. Power is not a spotlight. It is a thermostat. You set the climate by what you amplify and what you cool down. Choose the behaviors you want more of and pay them generously. Make the wrong moves gently expensive. Keep both moves consistent, humane, and a little unpredictable in flavor so they stay alive in the mind. That is how rooms begin to move with you. That is how trust rises, standards climb, and noise falls away. Reward and punish. Power has a quiet password: loyalty. Not the loud kind stamped on mugs and posters, but the kind that moves silently through back channels, decides who gets trusted with the real call, and who gets kept outside the room. You feel it before you see it. Someone covers your flank. Your name gets vouched for. Doors open without a knock. That is the rule at work. Here is the truth nobody tells you. Competence gets you noticed. Loyalty gets you kept. When stakes climb, people do not cling to the smartest person. They cling to the one who stays when it hurts. Power consolidates around certainty, and nothing feels more certain than a person who will not fold when pressure hits. But loyalty is not blind. Blind loyalty is how people get dragged off cliffs. The smart version has 3 layers. First, loyalty to principles. If your values are negotiable, your loyalty is just rent. Second, loyalty to the mission. You protect the work so it can survive the politics. Third, loyalty to people. You pick your few, you make your bond clear, and you behave like the future depends on it. Often, it does. Signals matter. Big speeches about loyalty do not persuade anyone. Small, consistent acts do. Show up early when it actually costs you something. Share credit publicly and shoulder blame in private. Keep confidences without hinting that you are doing it. Defend absent colleagues when it is inconvenient. Quietly fix problems before someone above you knows they exist. These are the micro-proofs that accumulate into a reputation. In corridors of power, reputations spend like currency. Understand the test. Loyalty is measured in 3 moments: when you are tempted, when you are tired, and when you are targeted. Temptation arrives as opportunities that ask you to trade relationships for speed. Fatigue invites sloppy talk and small betrayals. Targeting happens when someone tries to isolate you and turn you reactive. Pass those 3 and people will start handing you leverage you cannot buy. There is also a direction to loyalty most people miss. It travels up, sideways, and down. Up is how you protect the person who protects you. Make them smarter, faster, calmer, anticipate needs, remove threats, never surprise them in public. Sideways is how you become the ally. Peers rely on when they need truth without judgment. Today's lateral loyalty becomes tomorrow's coalition. Down is how you treat those with less power. If your loyalty only punches upward, everyone will see through it. People watch how you handle the powerless to guess how you will handle power. Disagreement is not disloyalty. The strongest loyalty is the kind that can say no. In the room, challenge the idea with respect. Out of the room, carry the decision with conviction. You earn the right to argue by how you align after the call is made. If you must dissent publicly, do it on principle and accept the cost. Loyalty loses its meaning if it never conflicts with your moral floor. Protect your name. One disloyal move cancels a dozen loyal acts. Gossip is lethal here. Even the impression that you leak will brand you for years. If you cannot say it to someone's face, do not say it to someone's friend. When trust breaks, you do not apologize with words. You apologize with time and proof. Choose where to place your loyalty. Vet the character of the people you are about to bind yourself to. Ask how they treat absent people, how they react to bad news, how they share credit, how they handle power when nobody is watching. If their pattern is extraction, your loyalty will be a liability. If their pattern is stewardship, your loyalty will be the best career decision you ever make. Finally, remember that loyalty compounds. The longer you honor it, the cheaper it becomes to demonstrate, and the more valuable it becomes to hold. One day someone will whisper your name in a room you are not in, and the decision will be made before anyone checks your resume. That is how power moves. Not with fireworks, but with a quiet nod from someone who knows, deep down, that you are safe to trust. A quiet pause can flip a conversation without a single extra word. The room keeps moving, the coffee cups clink, the clock hums, but your stillness shifts the center of gravity. People call silence awkward because it exposes what talk tries to hide. In power dynamics, that exposure is leverage. Think of silence like the negative space in a painting. It is not empty. It frames the subject, draws the eye, changes the meaning. When you stop filling every moment with explanations, you give others the choice to reveal themselves. Most people rush to break the quiet. They soften their position, bargain against their own interests, or tell you what they are really afraid of. That is where your advantage begins. Picture a negotiation. An offer lands on the table. You do not nod, you do not frown, you do not reach for the pen. You breathe, your gaze stays calm and steady. You let a few heartbeats pass. Watch what happens next. The other side starts to talk again. They add justifications, then add benefits, and sometimes add money. Silence invited them to move while you stayed still. Silence after a bold statement makes it heavier. Deliver a clear line, then let it hang like a bell ringing out. The echo does the persuading for you. In a meeting, you can follow a pointed question with quiet and a soft, expectant look. That open space signals that a real answer belongs there, not a rehearsed one. In conflict, you can say, "I want to solve this," and then pause. Your calm creates a path where defensiveness usually spikes. There are flavors of silence. There is the reflective kind, where you are genuinely processing and your body shows it with a relaxed jaw and an open posture. There is the anchored kind, where you make a firm statement and let the silence carry its weight. There is boundary silence, where you do not reward disrespectful behavior with your attention. Each has a different energy. What unites them is intention. Silence is not withdrawal. It is a deliberate act. Your body makes or breaks the effect. Keep your breathing even. Let your shoulders rest. Tilt your head slightly to show you are listening, not freezing. Do not smirk, do not sigh, do not roll your eyes. The wrong micro-expression poisons the moment and turns quiet into judgment. Aim for a steady, humane presence, the kind that says, "I can handle this, and I am not in a rush." If you fear silence, practice it in small ways. Replace a filler word with a breath. Count to 6 heartbeats before replying to a tough question. Take a sip of water as your pause, then set the cup down with intention. Give one thoughtful sentence and then space, rather than racing to cover every angle. Your mind will scream that it is taking forever. It is not. To others, you look grounded. Avoid cruelty. The silent treatment is not power. It is manipulation, and it corrodes trust. The point is not to punish someone who wants connection. The point is to create a container where honesty rises and urgency falls. If your partner needs reassurance, pair your pause with warmth. I hear you, then a breath. I care about this, then quiet. That balance turns silence from weapon to craft. Try this in a salary conversation. When they present a number, thank them sincerely, then hold the silence with a calm face. Let the quiet do the math for them. Or in a brainstorming session, try asking a crisp question and resisting the urge to steer. The first ideas may be safe. The better ones arrive in the quiet after. Silence grants you choice. When others sprint to fill the air, you get to decide what matters, what to echo, what to ignore. You conserve energy and signal confidence without saying you are confident. That is the hidden rule most people miss. Power is not how loud you are. Power is how little you need to prove. So, carry silence like velvet over steel. Set it down gently, and let people step into it. Listen for what they reveal. And when you do speak, your words will land deeper, because you use the most persuasive tool in the room first. The space you are not afraid to leave. Power does not reward the best work. It rewards the work everyone can see. The trick is not louder noise. It is orchestrated visibility, engineered so that competence becomes undeniable without you ever looking like you are begging for attention. Here is the visibility trick. Think of every important moment at work as a stage with 3 quiet acts: seed, surface, and stamp. If you do your work well but skip these acts, the story writes itself without you in it. Seed means you plant your name where the conversation will grow. Before the meeting, send a short note to the organizer with a useful frame, a one-paragraph summary of the problem, the two constraints, and a clean way to decide. You are not pushing an agenda, you are offering a lens. People walk into the room wearing the last lens they read, and if it is yours, you are suddenly the person others quote. You can do this the day before or the morning of, and you keep it humble and helpful. When someone later says, as mentioned in that pre-read, they are saying your name without having to say your name. Surface means you become visible at the moment the room needs clarity. Do not pounce early. Do not perform. Wait until the discussion tangles. Then give a crisp, 30-second synthesis of what has been said, name who contributed, and propose one next step. You are not the star. You are the conductor who makes the music make sense. Rooms remember the person who reduces friction. That memory sticks longer than any single clever point. Stamp is where most people disappear. After the meeting, send a 2-paragraph recap to the right circle. List decisions, owners, and deadlines, and attribute ideas generously. Put your name only in the line that says, prepared by. This is not vanity. It is a breadcrumb trail that links progress to your presence. When leaders search their inbox weeks later to remember what moved, they find your recap. Archive becomes spotlight, a quick story. A quiet analyst named Amara kept shipping flawless work that went unnoticed. She started seeding with a pre-read, 1 page at most. She surfaced with a clean summary and a single slide that connected dots. She stamped with a recap that made others look good. Within 2 months, her manager began introducing her as the person who keeps us aligned. Nothing else changed. Same brain, same effort, different visibility. There are small moves inside each act. In the seed, attach a naming handle to your idea that others can use. Call it the 3-gate test or the 1-week pilot. People repeat words that feel light and useful, and repetition is reputation. In the surface, borrow authority by citing the best voice in the room before adding yours. When you say, building on Priya's point about risk, here is a way to try this for 1 sprint. You sound like an amplifier, not a spotlight thief. In the stamp, include a single sentence that shows momentum, like draft sent, customer loop booked, metrics start on Monday. Motion is proof. A few guardrails protect you from looking like a clout chaser. Credit first, claim second. Attribute ideas loudly. Claim responsibility quietly. And let your name ride in the metadata. Share early drafts to invite edits, because the person who circulates the draft becomes the hub everyone must touch. Do not send recaps to the entire world. Curate the recipients to people who need the decisions to act. Precision reads as leadership. Spray reads as insecurity. If you are worried this feels political, reframe it as service. You are making it easier for the system to see reality. You are ensuring good work does not die in silence. The hidden rule is that attention is a resource, and unclaimed attention flows to the nearest narrator. Become the narrator who reduces confusion and creates momentum. Tonight, pick one upcoming decision. Write a seed note with a clear frame and a nameable handle. In the meeting, wait, synthesize, and set one next step. Afterward, stamp the story with a clean recap. Repeat this for 3 cycles. Watch how people begin to route questions to you, how your calendar changes, how opportunities find you. Visibility is not luck. It is a design path anyone can walk, and now you know where it starts. Walk into a room and everything gets easier, not because you're louder, but because your presence does the work. That invisible ease is the authority shield. It is not a costume or a trick. It is a set of small, consistent signals that say you are the frame others operate inside. When you learn it, pushback softens, access widens, and the right people lean in without you chasing. Start before the room. Authority begins with how you pre-frame the interaction. A short message that sets purpose, timing, and outcome creates a quiet moat around your time. Say, I have a clear objective for today, 20 minutes to get us there, and a decision at the end. This is not bossy. It is a map. People relax when they know where the road leads, and maps are power. Carry stillness like a currency. Most people spend energy fidgeting, filling silence, and over-explaining. Your shield is the opposite, an economy of motion. Plant your feet, keep your gestures tight, and let your voice do less than you think. When your words arrive slowly, with clean edges, others listen for the next one. Pauses are not gaps, they are gravity. Begin with naming and status alignment. Use someone's name once, early, and place it inside a respect statement. Maya, I value your perspective on this part. Then elevate the room before you elevate yourself. When people feel seen, their guard drops, and your authority can expand without resistance. Control the pace. Speak a shade slower than the fastest person in the room. Rushing equals chasing. Authority never chases. If someone interrupts, do not fight volume with volume. Let them finish, hold a beat, and say, let me complete this thought and I will come right back to yours. Then actually return. You just taught the room that you direct the traffic and you honor the contract. Guard your time with bright lines that feel generous. Use phrases like, I have 10 minutes for this slot and I want to make them count for you. That single boundary does 3 jobs. It sets an end, signals scarcity, and frames you as a steward, not a servant. Authority is never about being unavailable. It is about being precise. Ask questions that narrow chaos. Try, what outcome matters most here, and what would make this a waste? Then route everything toward the outcome and away from the waste. People who cut noise into signal get deferred to. That deference is your shield thickening. Let your body imply you already belong. Choose one signature anchor, an old-school notebook, a neat stack of printed pages, a simple timepiece, and treat it with care. Thus objects are quiet tells. You prepare, you decide, you document. When you write a sentence after someone speaks, they will watch their own words land on the record. They will start speaking better. Use principle language over preference language. Instead of, I like this approach, say, here is the principle guiding this choice. Principles make disagreement safe and personal friction unnecessary. You are not winning a taste contest. You are stewarding standards. When someone challenges you, do not duel opinions. Pivot to the principle. That is the clean, unstoppable path. When decisions are needed, compress options into a ladder. Say, there are 3 viable paths. We go narrow and fast, broad and slower, or we pause for data. I recommend narrow and fast because it aligns with the launch date and risk tolerance we set. Offering a small, clear menu feels like leadership and removes the fatigue of endless maybe. Practice finality without force. End a thread with, that concludes my part on this, or I am complete on this item. It signals closure without inviting more loops. If someone circles back, acknowledge and park it. You are the owner of the agenda, not its prisoner. Give status away to grow your own. Publicly credit contributions by name, privately correct missteps with care. The person who can afford to share spotlight is, by definition, not scrambling for it. That calm surplus is the core alloy of your shield. Close with decisiveness and warmth. Summarize in 2 sentences, confirm the next step, and leave first without hurry. Authority arrives early and exits clean. When you repeat these moves day after day, your name starts traveling ahead of you. Doors open softer, rooms run smoother, and your voice does not have to strain. The authority shield is not about domination. It is about signal, stewardship, and the quiet gravity that makes consent feel natural. Build it patiently, wear it lightly, and watch how the world starts editing itself around you. A closed door and a quiet voice can move more than a crowd. Power travels on whispers, not billboards. And the people who rise the fastest are the ones who learn to hold, shape, and time those whispers. Secrets are not just hidden facts. They are leverage wrapped in responsibility, and how you carry them decides whether they sharpen your influence or burn your reputation. Think about what a secret really is: information with consequence. Not gossip, not idle color, but something that changes behavior when revealed. When you encounter one, the first move is not to speak, it is to observe. Who told you? Why now? What is their angle, their fear, their desired outcome? Notice what was not said. Note the pauses, the small contradictions, the missing names. The loudest detail is often the one that was carefully left out. Collect quietly and organize in your mind. Separate heat from light. Some details are emotional sparks with no lasting value. Others are cool and heavy, capable of shifting decisions for months. Sort them by reversibility. If sharing this locks someone into a path they cannot undo, it deserves a thicker layer of protection. Treat your memory like a vault with many drawers. Never put multiple keys on one ring. If someone tries to make you confirm a name, answer with context instead of content. The more you can protect specifics while still helping decisions, the more trust you earn. Timing builds power as much as content. A secret offered too early sounds like noise, and too late it becomes a confession. Aim for the last responsible moment, when knowing it will prevent a mistake or open a door, not just entertain. And when you must release it, give people a ladder. Help them arrive at the conclusion so they believe they discovered it. Influence lands softly when it feels self-generated. Never purchase advantage with someone else's future. If trading is necessary, trade signals. You can share a pattern without sharing a person, a principle without giving up a source. Offer foresight rather than exposure. What to watch for, who to watch with, which risk matters most. When both sides leave with better judgment rather than more scandal, you have made a deposit in a bank that pays compound interest. Silence is not absence, it is architecture. A well-placed pause makes people fill the space with their fears and hopes, and they will often give you the map you were missing. If you have a reputation for restraint, your smallest hint carries dramatic weight. That is why scarcity matters. Guard many small confidences well, so the rare moments you choose to speak ring like a bell. Expect traps. Some secrets are honeyed decoys, planted to watch where they leak. Change a harmless detail and see where it returns. Protect your sources by smoothing fingerprints. Shift cadence, not facts. Break a story into principles so the lesson survives even if the specifics must disappear. And always consider the exit. Secrets age. Decide whether to archive, burn, or transform them into shared wisdom when the risk has passed. When you share, give the lesson, not the list of names. Hold a personal code and say it out loud to yourself. Perhaps you will not use a secret to humiliate. You will not trade what endangers a livelihood. You will not expose private pain for public clout. That code is your compass when pressure mounts. People can sense it. They will bring you the sensitive and the urgent because you treat both with gravity. Here is the quiet truth at the center of influence. Power is not simply possessing secrets. It is choosing how they move. It is the discipline to carry them without fidgeting, the judgment to time their release, and the generosity to turn them into protection rather than spectacle. Be the person whose discretion is legendary. Doors will open, people will lower their voices, and when you finally decide to speak, the room will lean in. Power often looks like volume, but its truest shape is tempo. The person who owns the minutes owns the mood, the frame, and the finish. Control the clock, and you turn hurry into leverage, silence into weight, and deadlines into doors you open or close at will. Start by slowing your first move. When pressure hits, most people sprint. Breathe, let the moment stretch, and watch what spills out. Silence taxes the unprepared. In those extra heartbeats, people reveal motives, fears, and shortcuts. You are not stalling, you are setting the rhythm, like a drummer choosing the beat before the band begins. Define your windows. Announce how long you have, and honor it. When you say you have 15 minutes, end at 15. Even if the air is thick with unfinished thoughts, that clean stop teaches the room your time is a boundary, not a suggestion. The next time your calendar appears, it will carry more weight. Boundaries are how the clock learns your name. Segment the day by the kind of mind it needs. Reserve your earliest hours for work that feeds your future and protect that zone like it were a vault. Push reactive tasks to define slots later. When messages pour in labeled urgent, ask what outcome is truly at risk and by when. Most fires shrink when they meet a calm clock. You do not ignore people. You train them to meet you at times where you are strongest. Make the pause a tool, not a gap. In a pitch, state your point cleanly and then stop talking. Let the silence do its slow work. If they fill it, you learn what matters. If they sit with you, you have met someone who also understands tempo. Either way, you gain information without lifting a finger. Pace is permission. Speed up when momentum is yours. Slow down when it is not. If a conversation starts racing, absorb it. Then reframe with a sentence that lands like a handbrake. Here is the decision we are actually making. Here is the one next step. When choices feel simple, people stop rushing. When the road is clear, even a measured walk feels fast. Set your own cadence before others set it for you. Choose a day for strategic scans and guard it against meetings. Choose a brief window every afternoon for follow-ups, and another near close for anything that keeps others blocked. Tell people your rhythm. When expectations meet a steady tempo, friction drops and respect rises. Use deadlines as levers, not traps. Offers a soft by when that suits your preparation, and keep a hard internal by when that suits your standards. The soft date shapes the room's urgency. The hard date protects your quality. If someone tries to compress your time, counter with a trade. We can move faster if we reduce the scope, or we can keep the scope and honor the original pace. Time and scope are a seesaw. Let the other side choose which end rises. Guard the last 5 minutes of every meeting like a ritual. Summarize what was decided. Name who is on the hook, and book the next touch right there. That small act prevents drift, which is where good plans vanish. You are not being rigid. You are closing the loop so tomorrow starts already in motion. In negotiation, remember that waiting is a move. The first to flinch pays a tax. If the terms are foggy, ask for a night to think and mean it. Clarity grows in quiet. When you return, arrive with a crisp anchor and a narrow choice. The clock you held became a compass. Protect your future with buffers. Leave a little space between commitments so surprises do not steal your focus. That cushion is not laziness. It is insurance for your best work. Without it, every day becomes a chain reaction. With it, you become the one calm person who can actually solve the real problem. Most people treat time like weather, something that happens to them. Power treats time like terrain. It can be climbed, shaped, and chosen. Own your minutes. Speak at the speed that serves your aim. Touch the brakes when others slam the gas. Set the room's tempo, and the room will move to your music. Control the clock, and you control the game. Power rarely arrives with a shout. It slips in on a whisper you hear more than once. That whisper becomes a rhythm, and rhythm becomes reality. That is the rule of repetition. What you repeat, you teach. What you teach, you normalize. What you normalize, you lead. Think about a phrase that has quietly steered you before. Maybe it was a manager who kept saying, on time and thorough. Not a speech, not a threat, just a steady drumbeat. After a while, you found yourself checking the clock and rereading your draft because those words had taken up residence in your head. Repetition did the heavy lifting. Short lines, said steadily, make a message stick because they create a cadence your attention can follow. That cadence is power. Psychologically, repetition lowers friction. Familiar ideas glide where new ideas stumble. The brain warms up to what it has seen before. The unfamiliar becomes expected, then acceptable, then obvious. That is why a simple, repeatable phrase can move a room faster than a complex argument. It is not magic. It is how minds conserve energy. Repeat the right thing, and you make it easy to agree. Repeat the right thing, and you make it hard to forget. Here is what it looks like in real life. You walk into a tense meeting where everyone feels protective of their turf. Before solutions, you plant a sentence. We share the same goal, a result we are proud to sign our names to. You do not say it once, you weave it. When someone pushes back, you nod and say, and because we share the same goal, here is the piece I think gets us closer. When the conversation derails, you return to it. Same goal, proud to sign. It is not a slogan, it is a steering wheel. The room starts orienting around that destination because you gave them a line to hold. Or imagine a negotiation. People often spray facts and hope something lands. The effective move is different. Choose one truth and return to it with calm gravity. I am looking for an agreement that is fair and sustainable. Say it early, say it simply, say it steadily. Soon every option is measured against fair and sustainable. If someone floats a flashy but brittle shortcut, the phrase gently exposes it. Repetition becomes your filter. There is an art to this. The phrase must be short enough to carry, positive enough to attract, specific enough to aim. Vague lines evaporate, heavy lines exhaust. You are writing the chorus, not the entire song, and you do not hammer people, you pace them. Space your echoes. Let action reinforce the words. People do not trust a drum that never changes note. They trust a rhythm that returns at the right moments, matched with proof. Notice how repetition does more than persuade others. It organizes you. It focuses your attention when emotions pull you sideways. In a hard conversation, anchor yourself with a repeated intent. Listen first, then decide. When your stress spikes, that line keeps you from leaping into fixes or defensiveness. The mantra narrows the chaos into a path. Psychologically, this is how repetition builds self-control. The phrase becomes a cue, and the cue becomes behavior. There is a boundary here. Repetition without integrity becomes noise. If you say people first while rewarding only short-term wins, repetition backfires. The brain also remembers hypocrisy. But when your words and actions rhyme, repetition compounds trust. It lowers defenses, it speeds decisions, it builds momentum. Try this the next time you want to shape a team, a project, or a moment with someone you care about. Decide the line, make it generous, make it true. Then let it be the quiet metronome under everything you do. You will feel the room begin to lean toward it. You will feel yourself align with it. The hidden part is simple. Power is not always in a louder voice, but in a steadier one. A line repeated becomes a lens. A lens repeated becomes a culture. And when it is time to close, circle back so the meaning lands where it began. Clear, human, unforgettable. That is the rule of repetition. Use it carefully. Use it well. And let your last words echo your first, so the message keeps walking after you stop speaking. Some gifts arrive without paper, and the world tells you to pretend you never got them. You carry it anyway, like a quiet ember in your pocket. It is not flashy. It does not announce itself. It is the power to withhold what everyone else spills without thinking. You could call it the forbidden gift, Because if you use it well, people in a hurry for your approval will say you are cold, stubborn, difficult. But when the room is loud and time is thin, it is the only thing that keeps you sovereign. Here is what no one teaches. Power is a market, and the currency is your response. Most people trade away attention, explanation, and certainty the moment someone reaches for them. They rush to answer, to justify, to fill silences that someone else strategically created. The forbidden gift is the decision to keep your currency, to spend slowly, to choose where it goes and where it does not. A story. There was a young analyst named Lena who sat at the end of a long table while bigger names volleyed opinions. A senior manager tossed her a live grenade of a question, shaped to pin her to a corner. She almost grabbed it. Then she remembered the ember in her pocket. She paused. She breathed. She said, "I want to think about that and get you a clean answer after I verify the numbers." The manager smiled the way hunters smile when prey stops running. But an hour later, the numbers were on Lena's side. The trap never sprung because she never stepped into it. Her pause was not weakness. It was the gift, opened carefully, and it turned a cornered moment into terrain she could walk on. The forbidden gift is not silence for its own sake. It is the right to time, to privacy, to boundaries. It is the right to make your emotions choose you, not the other way around. When you do not reflexively react, people reveal themselves. They show you what matters to them. They repeat the part they hoped you would miss. They sweeten their offer without you asking. They lean into the space you left open and tell on their own strategy. Every system runs on a few fuels. Your need to be liked, your fear of missing out, your habit of oversharing, your rush to close open loops. The forbidden gift denies those fuels to anyone who has not earned them. You can sit with unfinished business and not itch to scratch it. You can let a message sit until your priorities are clear. You can ask, what would it take for me to be sure, and then be willing to not be rushed? There is a rumor that power is loud. It is not. Power is selective, and selection is quiet. You keep some parts of your story for later. You keep some leverage dry. You let people get comfortable underestimating you. Being underestimated is a room with a one-way mirror. You see out, and they do not see in. They perform. You prepare. The gift looks like small phrases that buy you space. Let me check. I will circle back once I have clarity. That does not work for me. You do not explain your no 3 times. You let the no stand. You do not fill the silence after you name your terms. You let the other side move next. It also looks like attention as a deliberate offering. You choose where your eyes rest, what you repeat, what you ignore. Attention grows whatever it touches. Withhold it from drama and empty theater, and suddenly they shrink. Give it to competence, to people who tell the truth when it costs them something. And those people grow. There is one more edge to this gift. It asks you to be able to walk away. You cannot bargain if you cannot leave. You cannot choose if you must please. The world reads your need like a headline. Lower your needing, raise your choosing. That is how doors you once begged to enter begin to hold themselves open. Everyone is born with this gift, then taught to trade it for speed, comfort, and applause. You can take it back. Today, carry it like that ember. Spend less. Listen more. Say less until you have something you are glad to stand on. And when they lean into the quiet you created, do not rescue them. Let the space do the work. Let the forbidden gift be your advantage, and watch how quickly the hidden rules stop being hidden at all. A quiet trick keeps the powerful clean when the mess belongs to them. Shift the blame. It glides through boardrooms, family dinners, and crisis briefings. It sounds like logic, feels like relief, and leaves someone else carrying the weight. When you learn to hear it, you cannot unhear it. Here is the move. A mistake lands. The room tightens. Before accountability can find a home, a story appears. The market was unpredictable. The team misunderstood. The vendor missed deadlines. The regulator changed the rules. A dozen words, a soft shrug, and the origin of the problem slides across the table and lands in a different lap. That is not an accident. It is a craft. Shifting the blame needs three things. First, fog. Make the situation feel too complex to trace. Use big, abstract explanations until the simple truth gets lost. Second, a scapegoat. Offer a nearby cause that seems reasonable, even if it is thin. Third, confidence. Deliver the story with the calm of someone stating the weather. People trust composure. They mistake it for truth. Listen for timing. The most effective blame shift happens early, before facts harden. The person who speaks first defines the frame. They name what the problem is and what it is not. They salt the ground so other explanations look petty or late. If someone else tries to correct it, they seem emotional or defensive. Power protects the first narrative. Watch the language. Notice how responsibility is nudged away with gentle verbs. Mistakes were made. Expectations were not aligned. There was confusion. No actor, no choice. Just floating outcomes. Or, instead of denial, a strategic confession appears. I could have communicated better. It sounds honest, but it is also a decoy. A small, vague admission distracts from a large, specific failure. People reward the appearance of humility and stop digging. Here is a scene you might recognize. A launch fails. The leader steps up. We pushed hard and trusted the timeline we were given. In hindsight, our partners did not hit the milestones we needed. We will take those learnings forward. That speech is almost musical. We signals unity. Trusted assigns the risk to someone else's judgment. Partners spreads guilt across a group. Learnings promises motion without naming what will change. The leader exits with a halo, and the partner becomes the problem, even if the leader set the pace and the incentives that guaranteed the miss. Why does this work? Because blame is heavy, and people are eager to drop it somewhere. Because certainty is magnetic, and complexity lets certainty hide. Because most rooms prioritize harmony over truth. When someone offers a clean path to move on, many will take it. If you do not want to be the easy place where that weight lands, prepare a different rhythm. When the story starts drifting, ground it with specifics. What decision? By whom? On what date? When the fog rolls in, ask for the steps, not the slogans. Instead of arguing about intent, bring the focus back to impact. We can debate motives forever. We cannot debate outcomes. Separate the person from the problem so the conversation does not turn into character defense. Do not accept a vague apology for communication as a substitute for accountability for choices. If you lead, resist the seductive safety of blame shifting, even when it would be easy. Name your choices and the trade-offs you made. People can forgive a clear mistake. They do not forget a clean escape. If you must diagnose causes beyond yourself, be precise. Point to constraints, not scapegoats. Explain how the system produced the result. Then explain how that system will change and who owns that change. Accountability is not a performance. It is a plan. When someone tries to hand you their mistake, pause. Let the silence sit. Powerful people thrive on momentum. They expect you to agree and move on. Slow the moment down. Ask one calm question that anchors the frame. What did we control that we did not use? That simple shift turns a floating story into a map. Maps reveal choices. Choices reveal ownership. The hidden rule is simple. Power keeps hands clean by keeping narratives messy. Your counter is even simpler. Clear timelines, clear decisions, clear consequences. Keep your language plain, your facts close, and your backbone steady. Let the blame find its rightful home, not the nearest one. A crown without a kingdom still makes people bow. That is the rule of symbols. Power moves first in the mind, and symbols are the vehicles that carry it there. They look harmless. A lapel pin, a font, a white coat, a reserved chair with a small brass nameplate. None of these can push anyone. Yet, people move. Here is the quiet mechanism. Humans navigate meaning before they navigate facts. We scan for cues, we grab for stories, and we follow whichever signal promises safety, status, or belonging. Symbols compress those promises into something the eye can catch in a blink. Control the symbols and you guide the blink. Guide the blink and you steer the body. The old world never hid this. Kings stamped wax with a seal, priests lifted a chalice, armies marched under cloth. The thing was not the thing. The thing was the story everyone agreed it stood for. Today the fabric is different, but the rule remains. A logo on a slide can end a debate. The person who holds the marker at the whiteboard holds the agenda. The blue lanyard means access. The calendar invite title becomes the frame no one wants to fight. A podium, a lab coat, a corner office, a verified badge, a velvet rope. None of these are force. All of them are force multipliers. So, how to use the rule of symbols without being cartoonish? Start with one clear banner. That banner is a phrase, an icon, a consistent color, a signature ritual. It must be simple, repeatable, and easy to imitate by your allies. You are not trying to impress, you are trying to standardize. When you say the phrase, show the icon. When you launch the project, perform the ritual. When you send the email, use the color. Repetition binds neurons, and bound neurons bind groups. Claim the stage before you claim the decision. If you can, own the surface where meaning gets written. Take the first meeting, own the deck template, name the initiative, write the memo title. The first name often becomes the true name, and true names are hard to fight. If the room is crowded, occupy the small symbol everyone overlooks. The printed agenda on the table, the note-taking duty, the follow-up summary. Whoever documents the story tends to define the story. Turn status into an artifact. Give your people a token only insiders receive. A simple pin works. A specific coffee mug works. A unique greeting works. The token is not about cost. It is about belonging. People will do a lot to keep something that says they belong. Conversely, when someone threatens the mission, do not argue for hours. Remove the token or withdraw the ritual. That absence will say what words cannot. Redirect enemy symbols instead of trying to destroy them. Destruction feeds myth. Redefinition drains it. If a rival owns the word innovation, stop trying to out-innovate. Reframe the word to mean reckless. Then name your approach compounding. If their color screams urgency, make it mean panic and lack of discipline. If their badge means elite, suggest it signals fragile. You are not fighting the symbol's existence, only its story. Set metrics as symbols. Numbers are just symbols agreed upon by accountants. Choose what gets counted and you choose what gets done. Rename cost to waste, and people will hunt it. Rename revenue to impact, and people will protect it. Rename deadlines to promises, and watch how the calendar changes behavior. The labels we stick on time and money drive more action than any speech. Guard your iconography. Consistency is credibility made visible. If you keep changing your banner, the tribe assumes the ground is shaking. Hold the line. If you must evolve, declare a ritual moment for it. Make the change ceremonial, not accidental. People accept new symbols when they feel like graduates, not refugees. When all else fails, go primitive. Stand where the leader stands. Sit where the leader sits. Speak from the place the leader speaks. The podium is inheritance. The seat at the head of the table is a crown on legs. If you cannot take the spot, create a new one and treat it like a throne until others do too. Spaces are stories you can walk into. Power that shows up as a symbol does not need to shout. It just needs to be there again and again until everyone forgets there was ever another way to see the world. Write the story once, stamp it 100 times, and let the small brass plate do the heavy lifting. The rarest currency in any room isn't money, it's truth. Not the loud kind that tries to win, but the quiet kind that clarifies. In most places where power concentrates, information turns into fog. People hedge, they speak in safe phrases. And the more fog there is, the easier it is for the confident to steer. Here's the paradox. When truth is scarce, the person who can surface it without making enemies becomes the person everyone trusts. That's the move most people miss. We think power comes from controlling the message, but real influence often comes from being the one who can name what's real and still keep the room calm. Psychologically, candor delivered with care creates safety. It lowers defenses and makes people more cooperative because they feel considered, not cornered. Here's how that looks in real life. You're in a weekly status meeting. The dashboard looks smooth, the updates sound polished, and yet your stomach tightens because a key dependency slipped. Instead of detonating a truth bomb, you raise your hand and say, "I might be missing something, so let me check my understanding." You describe the dependency in one sentence. You name the risk in one sentence. Then you add, "I want us to land this, and I think we can. What if we pull one piece forward and put a name next to it today?" You've done three things. You avoided accusation. You made the unseen visible. You gave the group a next step that preserves dignity. That sequence matters because it signals, I'm not here to embarrass anyone. I'm here to steady the ship. Psychologically, this kind of truth-telling invites reciprocity. When you extend respectful candor, others feel permission to offer their own, and the group honesty level rises. It's tempting to confuse truth with brutal honesty. That's a trap. Brutality makes people brace. Precision makes them breathe. It's not about being provocative. It's about being precise. Not about dominating the room, about defogging it. That contrast is the hidden turn. State the common approach, then flip it to the better one, so the shift is unmistakable. Try it in a smaller moment. A colleague rushes into your chat with a rumor. Leadership is scrapping the project. Instead of amplifying panic, you slow the pace. I don't have the full story yet. Let's verify one source. You separate fact from fear. You follow with a concrete action. I'll ping operations for the latest timeline, and I'll report back by afternoon. See what happened? You didn't shut them down or feed the fire. You steadied the frame. People remember who steadies the frame. There's a reason this works beyond manners. Truth spoken with steady tone and a next step plan gives the brain a path out of threat mode. When people sense they won't be shamed, they share more. And when they share more, decisions improve. Influence expands not from volume, but from reliability. Others learn that when you speak, the fog thins and progress becomes possible. Psychologically, this is how safety compels cooperation and turns stalemates into movement. If you want to practice, use 3 moves. First, preface with humility. I might be off, but here's what I'm seeing. Second, name specifics, not personalities. Third, propose the smallest next step that reduces risk without assigning blame. These are tiny behaviors, but stacked together, they create a reputation. The person who tells the truth in a way that people can use. And yes, it takes nerve. It is easier to nod along, to parrot the phrases that keep your calendar full and your conscience quiet. But power built on fog demands constant maintenance. Power built on clarity earns compounding trust. In rooms where truth is scarce, the unflashy skill of saying what is true, tenderly and specifically, is a career-long unfair advantage. It doesn't just win arguments, it lowers defenses, it creates cooperation, it opens the door to better decisions. So the next time the room fogs up, don't reach for a spotlight to blind people. Light a small lamp and place it on the table. Speak one honest sentence, offer one steady step, and let everyone see a little farther. Power rushes toward the person who can make things clearer. Truth is the scarcest thing in the room. Make your voice the place it's found. Power does not live in the facts, it lives in the frame. The same event can crown you a leader or label you a problem, depending on who tells the story first and how they set the scene. If you want real leverage, stop chasing perfect facts and start shaping the picture those facts sit inside. Framing is the quiet architecture of influence. Think about a picture in a museum. The frame directs the eye, sets the tone, and makes you feel something before you even study the brushstrokes. In conversations, meetings, and negotiations, the frame is the first story that explains what is happening, why it matters, and what good looks like. Whoever does that early and clearly gets to define reality. Begin by naming the arena. Are we talking about costs, or are we talking about momentum? Is this an issue of compliance, or is it a question of trust? A single sentence can move the arena. Say, "We are not debating blame. We are deciding our next best move. You have just dragged the group out of yesterday and into tomorrow. Define the stakes." People move when they feel the weight. You can frame stakes as a threat to avoid or an opportunity to claim. Use both, but know your audience. A risk-averse group responds to the danger of delay. An ambitious group responds to the upside of speed. Say, "The risk is that we lose the narrative to competitors. The upside is that we can set the standard and get copied, cast the roles." Every story has a protagonist, a guide, and an obstacle. Make your audience the protagonist. Make your plan the guide. Make the problem the obstacle, not a person in the room. When you do this, even critics feel invited to move with you. Say, "You already built the hardest part. Our plan clears the last roadblock." Choose the time horizon. Short horizon frames demand action. Long horizon frames grant patience. If you need momentum, say, "We have a short window where small moves create outsized results." If you need breathing room, say, "This is a runway play." Early turbulence is normal. Select the metric that reveals hidden value. Every project looks different depending on what you measure. If speed is your edge, frame around cycle time. If quality is your edge, frame around retention or reusability. Say, "Success is not the feature count. Success is fewer escalations and higher renewals." Pick verbs that imply motion. Words like drift, spiral, and stall create urgency. Words like anchor, compound, and unlock create direction. Say, "Let's anchor this win and compound it across teams." Your language becomes a map for minds to follow. Anchor and contrast. Start with a bold, fair anchor, then offer a thoughtful contrast. In a negotiation, say, "Top players charge north of 7 figures. We are not there yet, but we deliver the same reliability at a fraction because we built repeatable systems." You have set a ceiling and then made your offer feel like high value rather than high price. Use one vivid story to carry the frame. Data persuades the mind. Stories move the will. Tell a short, concrete example that shows the stakes and the path. Say, "Last quarter a client was about to churn. We reframed the rollout as a pilot, reset the timeline, and turned them into a reference." People will remember the arc more than the spreadsheet. Inoculate against rival frames before they arrive. Name the obvious counter and fold it into your narrative. Say, "You might worry this slows us down." In truth, it prevents rework and keeps us fast in week 12, not just week 1. Now the objection loses its power because you already housed it. Escape traps by refusing the loaded question. If someone pushes you into a yes or no that makes you lose either way, step outside. Say, "That is the wrong question. The right question is what protects customers while keeping us agile." Then answer your question. You did not dodge, you reframed. Make this a habit. Set the frame in the first minute of any meeting. Offer context, name the stakes, cast roles, choose the metric, and propose the next step. When you do, you will notice fewer detours, fewer ego battles, and more forward motion. Framing is not lying. It is choosing the most useful truth to move people toward a better outcome. Facts matter, but frames decide which facts matter now. From this moment, stop arguing inside someone else's story. Set the room, set the stakes, set the path, frame the narrative, and watch power tilt toward you. Power rarely walks around barefaced. It smiles through a mask. The rule of masks is simple. Choose the face the room deserves, not the face your impulses want to show. This is not about fakery. It is about focus. A mask is a tool, a boundary, a way to deliver the right signal without handing away your whole self. Imagine every room as a theater with its own script. Some rooms reward volume and certainty. Others reward curiosity and restraint. When you walk in, you can react from habit, or you can select a mask that fits the scene. The calm architect, the warm bridge builder, the quiet listener who draws out what others hide. Each of these is you, just a different facet, brought forward with intention. A good mask protects your core. It filters noise. It keeps your raw feelings from getting weaponized by people who are watching more closely than you think. If you show every doubt, someone will sell you a false answer. If you show every desire, someone will price it into the deal. The mask is not a lie. It is selective truth. Just as you choose which clothes to wear, you choose which parts of yourself to place on display. To use masks well, start with the room. Who are they performing for? What do they reward? Listen longer than is comfortable. Silence is a powerful mask because it makes space. People rush to fill space with everything they want you to believe and a few things they didn't mean to reveal. If you can sit with a pause, you make the room do the work for you. Notice language. When someone repeats a word, they reveal what they want you to see. When their tone is bright but their eyes stay flat, the brightness is the mask, not the truth. Use their vocabulary, but do not become their echo. Mirroring is a gentle mask that lowers defenses. Keep your spine inside it. There are moments when the smiling diplomat mask earns trust faster than the brilliant expert mask. There are moments when the steady, unflappable mask makes a storm seem smaller. There are even moments when the beginner's mask opens doors that the know-it-all face would slam shut. Playing the novice is not pretending to be clueless. It is inviting explanation. People love to teach, and teaching reveals priorities, blind spots, and pressure points. Set boundaries for your masks. A mask should never demand that you betray your values. If you find yourself performing warmth to grease a betrayal, you are not using a mask. You are erasing yourself. The right mask amplifies a real part of you that serves the mission and protects the rest. Practice in low stakes. Try speaking slower when your instinct is to rush. Try asking one more question when your instinct is to prove a point. Try keeping your hands still when your instinct is to perform. Feel how the energy in the room shifts. You are learning how to carry different faces with ease so you can choose rather than react. Know when to drop it. There are rare moments when a small, honest reveal is the strongest mask of all. Admit one true fear. Share one true boundary. Offer one true story. Not a confessional flood, just a clean line. That line tells the room there is a real person under the surface, and paradoxically, it makes your chosen mask more believable. The danger lives at both extremes. Wear no mask, and the world will write one on you with its labels and expectations. Wear only masks, and you become hollow, a mirror with nothing behind it. Power sits between those poles. It is the discipline to select your face, the patience to read theirs, and the courage to remain the author of both. When you understand the rule of masks, you stop begging to be seen and start deciding what will be seen. Walk into the room, select your face, and let the performance serve the purpose. Keep your core intact. Make your silence do some of the talking. And when the moment calls, smile through the right mask and move the room. Power rarely wins by pushing harder. It wins by pulling focus. You do not need to outmuscle an opponent if you can split their gaze, waste their clock, and scatter their will. divide attention, and you divide resistance. Think like a stage magician. The trick is not in the hand that moves, but in the eyes that follow. If you can give people a bright, noisy object to track, you can quietly move the real piece. In rooms where influence is decided, the bright, noisy object is anything that absorbs bandwidth, a sudden minor crisis, an irresistible side debate, a tempting concession that takes people off the main path. Most people try to control outcomes by arguing the central point. That is the amateur move. The professional creates secondary fronts that feel urgent enough to address right now. Meetings sprawl into side channels. Inboxes swell with parallel threads. Small fires pop in corners. No one has the attention to see the larger fire taking shape where you want it. Start by mapping attention, not arguments. Who watches what? Who jumps at what? Where does impatience live in this group? If one person hates delay, stall them with details. If another craves speed, give them an easy, fast win that absorbs their time. The goal is not chaos, it is choreography. You are arranging eyes and energy so the path you need remains clear. You can split attention horizontally and vertically. Horizontal splitting is breadth, many small asks, each reasonable, surfacing together so no single one becomes the hill to die on. Vertically is depth, one narrow question with endless layers, so people spiral downward into clarifications and never surface to challenge the premise. Use breadth when you want approval by fatigue. Use depth when you want silence by confusion. Tempo is the invisible blade. Alternate sprints and stillness. Move fast on harmless topics, and then slow to a crawl on the decisive choice. People calibrate their patience to the speed you set. If they burn patience on motion, they rarely have enough left to fight the stillness that hides the real shift. A calendar crowded with updates gives cover for the one meeting that truly matters. Language divides attention as well as logistics. Frame a decision as a bundle of trade-offs rather than a single yes or no. Offer labels that bend minds toward side questions. Compliance, optics, legacy, morale. Each label opens a hallway they can walk down while you walk past. Phrase the central move in plain, unexciting terms, and dress the side matters in bright adjectives. People chase adjectives. Give rivals options that fragment their coalition. If they unite around principle, split them with process. If they unite around process, split them with timeline. Invite small, private agreements that feel harmless alone, but incompatible together. By the time they compare notes, the main current has carried the boat. Guard against overplaying. Constant misdirection breeds paranoia, and paranoia closes eyes. You do not need to split every gaze, just the gazes that could stop you. Identify the 2 or 3 pressure points and build decoys that live right next to them. Let people win loudly on the decoys. Praise them for the wins. People love the feeling of control, even when the steering wheel is not attached to anything. Ethics matters because consequences compound. Divide attention to remove friction, not to harm. Aim for choices that still leave others with dignity. Power that erodes trust, buys speed, and loses runway. You want both. When you enter a negotiation, seed it with harmless complexity. Ask for clarifications on minor terms. Bring up a small risk that everyone can mitigate. Propose a side experiment that attracts the problem solvers. Allow the room to disperse itself into tasks. While they chase those threads, set the anchor on what truly matters to you and let it sit there, plain and calm, until ascent feels inevitable. People rarely fight what does not feel like a fight. In storms, sailors look where the waves are highest, control where the waves break. If you can decide what people are busy with, you do not need to decide what they believe. They will believe what the momentum suggests. Divide attention, and you quietly join the handful of people who do not push the world so much as nudge where everyone else is already looking. Power rarely shouts, it fogs the room. One moment you think you understand what's being decided, the next you're nodding along while something entirely different gets agreed to. That's the confusion rule at work. When the air is murky, the person who defines the terms decides the game. Here is how it shows up. A manager assigns a project with soft edges. Make it more strategic. No timeline, no definition of strategic. Lots of urgency. Weeks later, they point to the gaps you couldn't predict and call them mistakes. You were working, they were shaping the fog, or you're in a negotiation and the other side floods the conversation with jargon, acronyms, and side issues that have nothing to do with the price. You spend your energy deciphering, not deciding. In social circles, it's the insider who keeps the in-jokes half explained, so you orbit them for translations. In all three cases, confusion is the lever and the lever holder steers. The hidden move is simple. When people are cognitively overloaded, they trade autonomy for relief. The fastest relief usually comes from the voice that sounds calm and sure. Psychologically, this is why confusion concentrates influence around whoever offers a clean line through the noise. So, the confusion rule has two sides. If you want disproportionate sway, you can create fog and hand out flashlights that only reach as far as you prefer. But if you want real power, trustworthy power that compounds, you do something braver. You name the fog, and you install lights for everyone. Let's play it in real life. Your boss says, "We need this done fast, make it strategic," and starts to walk away. You don't chase with a dozen questions. You stand still and set the frame. So we're choosing between speed and depth. Before I run, let me mirror what I think success means in one sentence. Strategic here means a short plan that answers who we're targeting, why now, and how we'll measure it. If that's right, I'll propose a draft by Thursday noon, you say. Then you pause. You didn't solve everything. You define the field. Suddenly the fog thins. Either they confirm and your path is clear, or they correct in plain language, which is also a win. You took back the terms. Another scene. You're being pitched and the deck is a river of buzzwords. Instead of swimming faster, you dam the flow. On page 5, you list 3 goals. Which one matters most if the others slip? Then, if I can only remember one metric at the end of this call, what should it be? You are not being difficult. You are forcing a single thread through the maze. Psychologically, naming the tangle lowers resistance and opens the door to progress because people relax when the path gets visible, even if it is narrow at first. There is an elegance to this approach. It does not require aggression. It requires temperature control. Slow the pace. Summarize out loud. Translate jargon into human stakes. Ask for the definition before the decision. Trade imagined competence for actual clarity. It is tempting to prove you're smart by deciphering complexity in real time, but remember, when conversation gets dense, speed rewards the person who came with the script. Stillness rewards the person who writes the script right there. Short, human, verifiable. If someone tries to use confusion against you, your counter is a 3-part rhythm. First, label what is muddy without blame. The goal and the deadline conflict. Second, propose a simple shared lens. Let's pick one success sentence to steer everything else. Third, anchor with a checkable next step. I'll send a 3-line summary by end of day for confirmation. You will feel the energy change. Decisions migrate to the surface. Accountability lands where it should. Your credibility rises not because you knew the answer, but because you controlled the frame through clarity. That is a different kind of power, the durable kind. The trap to avoid is mistaking mystery for status. Yes, ambiguity can make you look important for a moment, but fog is a short play. Clarity is a compounding play. People remember who calmed the room, who made the pathway visible, who turned 10 paragraphs into one sentence that everyone could actually act on. In rooms where power hides behind confusion, your edge is to make the hidden obvious, gently, consistently, and out loud. So, hold this tight, confuse, and you can win a moment. Clarify, and you can lead for years. The confusion rule is real. Use it to take advantage of people, and it will shrink you. Use it to clear the air, and people will hand you the mic. Because when the room is foggy, the person who turns on the light becomes the guide. The clock can be a throne if you know how to sit on it. Power is not always louder, faster, or first. Often, it is the calm stillness that refuses to hurry. The hidden rule is simple. Keep them waiting. Not as cruelty, not as a game of ego, as a signal, as a deliberate choice that tells the world your time is valuable, your attention is scarce, and your decisions are made on your schedule. This is not ghosting. Ghosting is avoidance dressed as power. Strategic waiting is presence. It says, I see you, and I will meet you when I am ready. When you rush, you volunteer for someone else's timeline. When you pause, you force the world to acknowledge yours. Imagine a negotiation. An email lands with an offer. Your heart jumps. The instinct is to reply within the minute, to show eagerness and seal the deal before it slips away. Instead, you breathe. You let the message sit. You return to your work. Hours pass. Daylight softens. When you answer, it is measured, steady, and curious. You have not ignored them. You have made them wait. And in that space, something happens. They think about you. They wonder what you are considering. They revisit their own terms. You have created a vacuum where their imagination does your work for you. Scarcity is not only about product, it is about presence. The bustling restaurant with a line around the block becomes more desirable because time wraps around it like a velvet rope. The leader everyone wants time with becomes magnetic because they do not sprint to every request. Waiting also makes people invest. The longer someone stands in line, the more they convince themselves it is worth it. The longer someone prepares for your response, the more they shape their approach to fit you. Patience becomes an amplifier. There is psychology under the surface. Silence invites projection. People fill quiet spaces with their own expectations, often leaning toward your favor when they perceive you as selective. Delay reframes urgency. If it is urgent for them, it is not automatically urgent for you. By slowing the tempo, you reset the rhythm of the room. The person who controls the rhythm quietly controls the scene. Use this rule with integrity. Set your baseline. Not every message deserves the same priority. Most things can wait. Emergencies are rare, and when lives, safety, or critical trust are at stake, you move. But for the majority of asks, give yourself a thoughtful pause. Let a beat sit between hearing and answering. You are not being difficult. You are being deliberate. Craft rituals that support this posture. When a request comes in, do not pounce. Let your calendar be your gatekeeper. Group responses into windows so you do not fracture your attention. In meetings, resist the urge to speak first. Let others show their cards. When they finish, take a breath, then speak. In conversation, hold a second of quiet before you answer. That small silence carries weight. It says you listen before you decide. Communicate your scarcity without theatrics. You do not need to say you are busy. Your behavior says it. Show up fully when you show up. That contrast, distance followed by depth, is powerful. People learn that your yes means something, that your presence is not a commodity. Warmth and boundaries can live together. You can be kind and unhurried. You can be generous and selective. Expect pushback from those who benefit from your hurry. They will label you unresponsive, difficult, hard to pin down. Smile inwardly. You are not here to be convenient. You are here to be effective. Keeping them waiting is not about making others small. It is about keeping yourself steady. The moment you stop sprinting after every bell, you start hearing your own voice again. Power does not always announce itself. Sometimes it leans back in the chair, lets the room rustle, and watches stories form in the quiet. Keep them waiting and watch what magnetizes. When you meet them fully. The world leans toward what does not leap. The clock becomes your ally, and time itself begins to speak on your behalf. The richest people rarely hold things, they hold levers. That is the first quiet rule. Ownership is the story we are sold, control is the reality they keep. Your name can be on a deed and still not decide. Miss a few payments and a bank decides. Miss a few tax bills and the state decides. The paper in your drawer says you own the house. The power over your head says otherwise. The same trick plays out in smaller ways. You buy a car, but the software inside it can be turned off from a server you cannot see. You buy a movie, but one morning the streaming catalog changes shape and a title vanishes like it was never there. The label said purchase. The contract said permission. It sounds dark, but it is simply a map. The map shows 3 questions. Who can take it without your consent? Who can change it without your input? Who sets the terms you must accept to keep it? If the answer is not you are not the owner, you are the user. Look at your phone. It feels personal. It feels like a private island. Yet one update, one closed account, one rule change turns that island into rented sand. The apps require logins. The logins require good behavior on a platform's ever-shifting code of conduct. And the platform requires a card on file. You do not possess a tool, you inhabit an ecosystem built by someone else. Consider your accounts. Bank balances are promises. They are numbers on a ledger that can freeze, reverse, or deny. When the switch flips, you do not call the shots. Even your online identity can evaporate with one suspension. And with it go photos, contacts, messages, the whole scaffolding of your daily life. It is not evil, it is architecture. Business is the masterclass. You buy shares and feel like an owner. But the founders hold a special class of shares with super voting power. The board sets agendas, and the bylaws decide which hands can actually steer. The stock gives you exposure, sometimes a dividend, rarely a say. Venture money does not seek objects. It seeks control points, governance, cash flow rights, vetoes, covenants. That is not by accident, it is by design. Even the address you call yours online is a lease. A domain can be revoked. Your email relies on someone else's server. Your cloud is a metaphor for a stranger's computer. And yet, within all of that, you can still build something real. You do it by pursuing control more than labels, function more than appearance. Here is how control sounds in practice. Clear title beats financed pride. Skills that travel beat credentials that can be withdrawn. Offline copies beat promises of perpetual access. Direct relationships beat rented audiences. Owning the tool chain, even one step more than yesterday, beats buying shinier versions of the same dependency. When you negotiate, ask for levers, not logos, rights to export, rights to self-host, rights to transfer, rights to audit, guaranteed notice before changes, and clear off ramps. If you cannot get those, you at least know what you are trading. Test everything you own with simple drills. If a server turns off, what still works? If a password is lost, what survives? If a rule changes at midnight, what keeps going at sunrise? Each answer shows you where to add a handle, a backup, a key that you keep. There is also the inner game. Attention is the first property you must defend. If your day can be seized by pings and feeds, you do not own your time. Guard mornings like scarce land. Decide the first task, the first input, the first voice you hear. Ownership begins where your schedule cannot be hijacked without your permission. This is not a call to unplug from the world. It is a call to pick your dependencies on purpose. Trade illusions for instruments. Trade shiny for sturdy. Trade the thrill of mine for the quiet, compounding safety of under my control. Power respects the person who can walk away, who can rebuild, who can keep operating when a platform hiccups or a rule flips. The illusion says you need more stuff. The rule says you need more say. Collect levers, not labels. When the story and the structure conflict, believe the structure. That is where ownership ends and power begins. A full cookie jar is rarely the one people fight over. The emptier it looks, the more attention it gets. That is reward scarcity. The art of making your praise, access, and opportunities deliberate, limited, and therefore valuable. Most people hand out rewards like flyers, constant approval, instant replies, endless availability. It feels generous, but it teaches others that your best costs nothing. When your rewards are everywhere, they are nowhere. Power comes from moving the cookie jar out of reach and choosing exactly when it opens. Reward scarcity is not cruelty. It is clarity. It means you decide which behaviors you want to encourage, and you tie your rewards to those behaviors with intention, not habit. A quick nod after real effort. A meeting only after someone does the groundwork. A warm thank you after they stretch, not after they show up. When you make the reward rare and specific, people tune in, lean forward, and try harder. This works because the mind is wired to chase what feels scarce and meaningful. Predictable rewards get ignored. Unpredictable rewards are memorable. If your approval arrives every single time someone asks, it becomes background noise. If it arrives when it is earned and sometimes later, it becomes a moment they replay in their head and aim to repeat. Decide what your real rewards are. Your time is a reward. Your attention is a reward. Your praise, your introductions, your behind-the-scenes knowledge, those are rewards too. Treat them like limited tickets, not like air. You do not owe anyone instant access, and you do not have to explain why the jar does not open today. Start with a baseline of respect. Everyone gets basic civility and clear communication. That is non-negotiable. But beyond that baseline, make the good stuff count. When someone brings you vague problems, give them a thoughtful minute. When they bring solutions or grit, give them your hour. When someone circles the same small hill, smile and wave. When they climb a new one, shine a light. Speak less when you reward. Let the moment do the heavy lifting. A short, specific acknowledgement lands harder than a long speech. You caught the detail no one else saw. Then pause. Do not stack it with 8 other compliments. Scarcity means one clean hit, not a spray. Guard your availability. Always available turns into taken for granted. Choose windows when people can reach you, and keep them short. Close them when you say you will. A predictable boundary creates anticipation. Anticipation creates value. Use silence with wisdom. Silence is not punishment, it is space. If a request has not earned your reward, do not fill the gap with nervous talking. Let the standard breathe. When they meet it, the contrast will ring out. Be careful with overcorrecting. If you starve everyone of rewards, you do not become powerful. You become irrelevant. Scarcity without fairness breeds bitterness. The rule is simple. Standards are steady, rewards are rare. People should know what unlocks your time or praise, even if they cannot predict exactly when it appears. Practice on a small scale. Pick one reward to tighten. Maybe it is your instant replies. Move them from always now to twice a day. Watch how the tone of inbound messages sharpens, or choose your praise. Replace routine "good job" with one pointed nod each week tied to a standout action. You will see effort cluster around whatever earned that nod. Announce less. Demonstrate more. When you post a calendar, keep it. When you say you only mentor a handful of people, hold the line. A scarce promise that gets bent becomes cheap. A scarce promise kept becomes a beacon. Add a surprise flourish occasionally. A rare, unannounced generosity resets the story in a powerful way. The person who does not expect a callback receives one. The quiet contributor gets the warm spotlight. These moments echo because they are not owed, they are bestowed. If you worry this is manipulative, remember that dilution is already happening. You are not taking value away, you are restoring it. You are making your yes worth something again. That is not a trick. That is stewardship. In the end, reward scarcity is the quiet lever behind many strong hands. You do less, and it matters more. You speak less, and it lands deeper. You show up less, and people lean in further. Keep the jar closed most days. Open it when it counts. Let the room learn that your rewards are not random kindness or constant noise. They are signals, and those who read them will rise. Whispers move faster than memos. Long before decisions get stamped, they ripple through hallways as stories, half-formed and fully charged. That is the rule of gossip. Whoever shapes the story shapes the room. Think of gossip as the city's power grid. It is not just noise. It is information in its rawest form, messy and emotional, but full of signal if you know how to read it. Promotions, mergers, alliances, betrayals, none of these arrive clean. They arrive as fragments carried by people with needs. You do not fight that current. You learn its flow, you purify it, and you use it without getting burned. Here is the quiet truth most people miss. The loudest voice is not the one with power in the grapevine. The editor is. The person who asks the next question. The person who adds context. The person who refuses to add venom. Gossip is a tool, and like any tool, it can build or break. If you want power that lasts, you build. Start by earning the right to hear things. Make other people's names safe in your mouth. When someone tests you with a spicy tidbit, listen longer than you speak. Ask, what do you think it means? You will hear motives surface. You will see who is jockeying for position, who is scared, who is bluffing. You are not collecting secrets. You are mapping incentives. Next, launder gossip into insight. Strip away the sting. Convert it into neutral, forward-looking statements. Instead of repeating that someone is impossible to work with, translate it to a pattern. There is friction on timing and scope between teams. That small shift changes everything. You are no longer carrying a match. You are carrying a map. People trust maps. Protect your hands. Never quote the unverified, and never carry a story you would not be willing to sign your name to later. When you pass a story, you are vouching for it. If it collapses, your credibility collapses with it. Power hates a shaky floor. If a claim matters, ask for receipts, dates, witnesses. If you cannot get those, slow the conversation down and let the room breathe. The truth has a way of surfacing when urgency fades. Control the frame. The first clear story wins more often than the perfect story that arrives late. If a rumor paints your project in a risky light, acknowledge the concern, add the missing data, and redirect attention to the measurable next step. Get to the first why and the next how. You are not arguing with shadows. You are turning on a light. Do not confuse sharpness with cruelty. It is easy to win short-term status by being the one with the cutting line. That is not power. That is a sugar high. Real power is the person others call before they make a move, because they know you will help them choose well. That reputation is built one conversation at a time by resisting cheap shots and providing clean context. Cultivate sources, not scandals. Your best sources are often the quiet people who see everything, assistants, coordinators, operators on the ground. Treat them with real respect. Never turn them into the headline. Ask what they are observing, what they need to do their jobs better, what patterns they see repeating. Reward accuracy with gratitude, not exposure. Trust grows in shade, not under spotlights. Set a personal filter you can live with. Repeat only what is repeatable, useful, and kind. Repeatable means it is solid enough to stand if retold without you. Useful means it helps someone act. Kind does not mean soft. It means you leave people's dignity intact even when you are delivering a hard edge of truth. That is how you keep doors open. If you are the target of gossip, do not chase every echo. Correct the record once, cleanly and calmly, with specifics. Then get back to visible results. Output is a rumor killer. Over time, performance fossilizes narratives that once felt urgent. Your job is to outlast and outproduce the noise. The rule of gossip is simple and unforgiving. You are always training the grapevine how to treat you. Every retold story is a vote for the kind of power you want. Choose to be the editor, not the amplifier. Build the habit of turning heat into light. When people learn that a whisper becomes wisdom with you, they will bring you the city's current. And where the current flows, the influence grows. Walk in like the room owes you an apology. That single choice sets your frame before you say a word. Commanding the stage begins long before the mic touches your palm. It starts with the way you arrive, the pressure in your heels, the quiet you carry. Let them feel you before they hear you. Here's the rule that is rarely said aloud. The audience agrees to your reality in the first 10 seconds. So, claim those 10. Step into the light, plant your feet as if rooting into the floor, and breathe from the belly. Do nothing for one long heartbeat. Let silence build a doorway they must step through to meet you. The bravest person in the room is the one who can hold stillness. Be that person. Find your stance. 1 foot slightly ahead, knees soft, crown of the head lifted. This is not a statue, it's a coiled spring. Keep your shoulders down, your hands relaxed at your sides. When you gesture, do it with intention, not as punctuation for every word. Stillness is power because it tells the room that you do not need to spend energy to be seen. Own your voice. Start a touch lower than your daily speaking pitch. End important lines with a downward inflection to signal completion. Vary your pace like a conductor. Unspool a story slowly, then cut sharp with a decisive sentence. Use contrast to keep the pulse, soft into loud, slow into quick, warmth into steel. Your voice is not merely sound, it is architecture shaping where attention lives. Let your eyes do honest work. Don't skim across faces like a stone on water. Land, hold, release. Pick a person on the left. Speak a full thought to them. Then shift to the center, then the right. It creates the illusion that every seat is a front row. When you want to make a point hit harder, look at no one and stare just above the horizon. It makes them listen with their bodies. Name the room. Before content, calibrate the crowd. Acknowledge the weather in the space, energy, expectation, tension. One line will do. When you demonstrate you see them, they decide to see you. That's the quiet trade at the heart of presence. Begin with stakes, not credentials. A sharp contrast, a bold promise, or a truth that stings will seize attention. Then give them a map. Where we are going, why it matters, and what changes if they come with you. People follow direction when they trust the destination. Tell stories with blood in them. A moment you almost failed. The cost you paid. The turn you did not expect. Details anchor belief. The squeak of shoes in a hallway. The hum of a vending machine at midnight. The taste of coffee gone cold while a decision was made. Specifics make your story true in their nervous systems. Use the room like a chessboard. When you move, move with purpose. Step forward to challenge, back to invite, across to transition. Plant yourself to deliver the line that must land. If someone interrupts, turn toward them with your torso, not just your head. Pause, and let them finish. Then reclaim the space by returning to center and restarting at your pace. Your frame is the metronome. Keep it. Master the pause. The pause is not empty. It is a net collecting their attention. Drop it after a question. Let them lean in before you speak the answer. Say less, mean more. Power respects economy. If nerves come roaring, let them. Channel the surge into grounded movement. Wiggle your toes inside your shoes. Exhale longer than you inhale. Whisper the first line to yourself before you say it aloud. Your body will follow your breath. The crowd will follow your body. Leave them with a line that can walk out the door, not a summary, a commandment. Something short enough to remember when the lights fade. Then stop. Do not apologize. Do not add more. Do not ask if that makes sense. End like you started, certain. Commanding the stage is not a gift. It is a practice of choices repeated. Enter with gravity, hold with silence, shape with voice, aim with eyes, move with meaning. And when you leave a wake that keeps pulling them forward. Doors never look heavier than when someone else is holding the key. That feeling in your chest, the pull toward the thing you cannot easily have, is the engine behind the scarcity frame. It is not about trickery or theatrics. It is about setting the boundaries of access so value stops leaking out of what you offer. Here is the quiet truth. Unlimited access signals low value. Scarcity, when honest and visible, tells people your time, your attention, and your decisions are precious. Power circles use this constantly. Invitations that arrive late, rooms with space for a handful, replies that wait until the next day, calendars that open like a small window and close. When something is constrained, we lean in. You can do this without playing games. Start by choosing what is scarce. Maybe it is your time, your energy, or your presence in a room. Pick one and protect it. Announce your container before anyone asks. I take one-on-one calls only on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I have 15 minutes for this topic. I am available for 3 projects this quarter. When you define the limits, you become the person who sets the terms. The words matter. Say what you can do, not what you refuse. I can do 2 options next week, Wednesday morning or Friday afternoon. I can stay for a short discussion, then I have to move. I can hold this proposal until end of day. This language is calm, warm, and firm. It closes the door gently and keeps the relationship open. Then enforce the limit with kindness. Finish when you said you would. Leave when your time ends. Do not explain too much. Power often feels like quiet certainty. When you overjustify, you leak authority. A simple thank you, that is all the time I have. Let us pick this up next week, carries more weight than a long apology. Turn scheduling into a signal. Batch your replies. If you answer within seconds, you teach people that you are always on. If you answer within set windows, you train the world to meet you there. The point is not to be cold. The point is to protect the rare thing you bring. Attention is the rarest currency. Spend it like it matters. Limit your offers as well. Instead of endless open doors, create clear windows. I am opening a spot this month. I am reviewing pitches this week. I will read 3 drafts. The number is less important than the clarity. People move when there is a visible edge. If others try the scarcity frame on you, do not panic. Ask what exactly is limited, by when, and what happens if you pass. Separating real limits from vague pressure brings the air back into the room. Real scarcity has specifics. Fake scarcity waves its hands. Beware false scarcity in your own behavior. Lying about demand burns trust. Power is not force. It is gravity. You build it by aligning your signals with the truth. If you are early in your journey, your scarcity can be the depth of your focus. I take on only what I can do well. I will get back to you tomorrow with a considered answer. Slow decisions are a form of strength. There is also a hidden benefit. Scarcity sharpens quality. When you set a small container, you cut fluff. Meetings get shorter and clearer. Emails get simpler. Projects get braver. Limits make edges, and edges create shape. Remember the feeling of being drawn toward the closed door. You can create that pull without slamming anything shut. Be the person who knows what is precious and treats it that way. Make your yes mean something. Make your no a boundary, not a battle. In a world that is always shouting, the quiet power is this. You decide how much of you the world gets, and you say it out loud before anyone else does. Power hides in plain sight. You can feel it in a room that suddenly wakes up when someone names a villain. A vague plan goes nowhere, then a single sentence slices the fog. This is what we refuse to tolerate. Heads lift, voices align, action begins. That is not an accident. It's a lever. Create enemies, not people, not personalities. Create the opposition that clarifies your direction. The moment you define what you stand against, you give everyone a line to march along. Not because conflict is cute, but because contrast is how humans find edges. Psychologically, this works because our attention sharpens around difference. A clear foil makes the path feel real and urgent, which is why a defined adversary turns drift into movement. Picture a meeting where your idea keeps slipping like soap in water. You talk benefits. You list features. Nothing sticks. Then you try a different move. You say, "We're bleeding hours to rework and confusion. I'm done paying the tax of chaos." In that moment, the team has an enemy. Waste. Not Barb in accounting, not a rival team, but the drain everyone secretly hates. Relief ripples across the table. Now your proposal is not a nice to have. It is a response to an intruder. The hidden rule is simple to say and hard to practice. Choose enemies that make you bigger, not smaller. Punching down is noise. Punching up is focus. Make the adversary a pattern, a habit, a cost, a drift toward mediocrity. You are not hunting witches. You are drawing a boundary. That boundary is fuel, and if you choose it wisely, everyone gets to keep their dignity while still feeling the heat of urgency. Framed like this, conflict becomes clean, not cruel. It is not "I am better than you." It is "we are better than this." Notice the rhythm of that last line, not versus you, but versus this. That not, but structure is more than style. It flips a fight into a standard. It lowers defensiveness and raises commitment, which is exactly how powerful communicators keep momentum without starting fires they cannot put out. If you want to use this rule without poisoning the well, mind 3 things. First, select the stage. Define the adversary where you have leverage, the process, the deadline, the cost no one wants to pay. Second, give the other side a clean exit. Name behaviors, not identities. Say, "We have a habit of overpromising by Friday and paying for it on Monday." Third, tie the enemy to a higher value. When you declare, "Our standard is precision, our enemy is guesswork," you invite pride, not resentment. Why does this gather people? Because belonging is easier when there is a border. A shared foe is the chalk line that says, "Inside here is us." In research-backed storytelling, we use a contrast to make abstract ideas concrete. A clear antagonist is the fastest way to make the stakes feel real and the solution feel necessary. You can think of it as choosing the shadow that shows the shape of your light. And yes, there is a boundary you should not cross. Do not turn a person into your crusade. That might win a moment and cost you the room. People remember how you make them feel, and humiliation is a debt that collects interest. Smart operators create symbolic enemies to align energy. Then they let real people step toward the standard with their heads high. Psychologically, anchoring the conflict in a value rather than a villain keeps defenses low and cooperation high, which is what makes action sustainable. So, create enemies. Choose them with care. Choose them to light up the path, not scorch the earth. Make the enemy the drift toward average, the tax of confusion, the creep of cynicism. Then speak to the standard as if it is a place you can stand together. The hook is the contrast. The heart is the invitation. That is how you turn a soft wish into a hard plan, and a scattered crowd into a focused force. In the end, the enemy you create should be the shadow that proves your direction, and the power you gain is the power to move. It starts with a tightened jaw, and a silent room. Power does not always arrive with a badge or a crown. More often it slides in as hesitation, as the pause before you speak, as the sudden need to reread your own message 3 times. That is the rule of fear doing its work. When fear is present, people hand over their choices in exchange for a sense of safety. The exchange feels invisible. It never is. Fear rules by shrinking the world. It narrows the options, invents urgent deadlines, blurs the facts, and convinces you that someone else holds the only key. Notice the pattern: unpredictability, scarcity, and isolation. Unpredictability keeps you guessing which line you crossed. Scarcity says only one seat exists, so fight your friends for it. Isolation whispers that you are alone, so do not risk asking for help. Put together, these 3 turn smart people into silent ones. A boss delays feedback for weeks, then scolds you in front of others. That is not management, that is theater. A partner keeps plans vague, then punishes you for not reading between the lines. That is not romance, that is training. An influencer praises loyalty, then publicly exiles someone each month. That is not community, that is compliance practice. The rule of fear needs rituals, random punishments to prove it can happen to anyone, loud examples to remind everyone how it ends, and quiet rewards sprinkled just often enough to keep you hoping. Here is the hidden move. Fear shifts the frame from truth to survival. When your heart is racing, you stop asking what is right and start asking what will keep you safe. Accuracy collapses. You second-guess your own receipts. You apologize preemptively. You censor yourself before anyone asks. That is the moment power wants to catch, because a person who doubts their own feet will accept any map. How do you break it? Start by naming the fear as precisely as you can. Not a storm, but a sentence. I am afraid of losing my income. I am afraid of being excluded. I am afraid of looking foolish. Fear hates clarity. When you can say it cleanly, you can measure it. Next, buy time. Fear thrives in a countdown. Ask for the request in writing. Ask for a day to review. Ask what happens if you decline. Time rehydrates your judgment. Bring witnesses into the room. Isolation is a lie fear tells. Loop in a colleague, copy a mentor, ask to record the meeting, or move the conversation to a space with structure. You are not being dramatic. You are rebuilding fairness. If the rule is real, it can withstand sunlight. If the rule is fear, the sunlight will make it flinch. Refuse to fight inside their frame. When someone pushes a forced choice, look for the third door. When someone shouts to speed you up, slow your voice down. When someone is vague, pin the language. What are you asking? By when? According to what policy? The rule of fear loses oxygen when the words are specific. Precision is not aggression. It is rescue. Reconnect with your exit. Walk-away power is the oldest antidote. You do not have to threaten it. You only have to remember it. Keep a small runway. Tend to relationships beyond the gatekeeper. Build skill that travels. Even a modest exit option loosens the knot in your throat. People sense it. Predators prefer prey without doors. If you lead, refuse to rule by fear. It looks efficient. It is brittle. It makes a team quiet, not wise. Set standards and enforce them consistently. Praise in public, correct in private. Replace surprise with cadence. Replace rumor with clarity. Replace scarcity theater with transparent criteria. Power that does not need fear becomes magnetic. People choose it instead of avoiding it. Some situations are not fixable from the inside. When every boundary is punished and every question is flipped back on you, that is not a hard season. That is a system. Document, gather allies, and leave with your dignity intact. Survival is not surrender. You are not obligated to prove your resilience to anyone's amusement. Remember the tell. When the room gets quieter and your chest gets tighter, ask what is being traded. If the price is your voice, it is too high. The rule of fear will always try to convince you that you are safer, smaller. Call it by its name, widen your options, add witnesses, take your time, and keep your door visible. Power that cannot survive your clarity was never power. It was fog, and fog looks thick until the light hits it. Power rarely shouts. It tilts the room without moving a muscle. The people who seem untouchable aren't just smarter or louder. They know a quiet move most of the world never learns. I call it the reversal rule. When pressure comes at you, you don't collide with it. You flip its direction so it carries you where you want to go. Think of every interaction as a current. Most people swim against it. They argue with critics, chase the uninterested, defend themselves when accused, and bargain down when confronted. That is the obvious move. The reversal rule says, do the opposite. Do not resist the force. Name it, lean with it, and let it expose a path that favors you. A story. A young strategist named Maya pitched a campaign to a big client. Halfway through, the procurement lead interrupts. You're too expensive. The room tightens. The common response would be to justify, discount, or plead. Maya reversed. She took a breath and said, "You're right for a basic campaign. We are priced for outcomes, not hours. If the goal is a safe, familiar result, there are cheaper teams who fit that perfectly." Then she paused. The air shifted. She had agreed and amplified their frame until it revealed a choice. The client leaned in. "What do you mean by outcomes?" Now the conversation was on her terms. By leaning with the push, she created gravity. The reversal rule has 3 simple steps. First, notice the force. Is it a criticism, a demand, a test, a trap? Say it to yourself in plain words. Second, agree with the obvious truth inside it, not sarcasm. A calm, surgical agreement that steals its momentum. Third, redirect that energy into a fork that benefits you. 2 paths, both acceptable. The force now moves you, not against you. You can use it when you're challenged. Someone says, "You're not qualified." The usual move is to defend your resume, reverse it. You're right to be cautious. If we only want conventional outcomes, conventional experience is safer. If we want a breakthrough, we need a different pattern. Which risk do you prefer to own? The critic now has to choose the risk they are willing to carry. Use it when you're hit with an unreasonable deadline. Instead of saying no and sounding obstructive, reverse it. Speed is valuable. To meet that timeline, we would remove testing and cut scope. If we accept that quality risk, we can move. Would you like to sponsor that trade? The push for speed becomes a visible cost someone else must own. Use it when someone takes a jab in a meeting. That idea seems naive. The defensive move is to get prickly, reverse it, smile. It is naive, simple to understand, hard to execute. Let's pressure test it in the next 5 minutes and see where it breaks. You absorb the insult and turn it into work. The tone shifts from status games to problem solving. The reversal rule is not passive. It is composure weaponized. The key is your face and your pacing. Speak a little slower than your impulse. Keep your shoulders loose. Silence is part of the move. It lets the other person hear themselves while you hold the frame. If you feel heat rising, breathe, name the force, find the piece of truth you can concede, and open a fork. Common mistakes: fake agreement that drips with bitterness, too clever traps that make people feel tricked, or forks that are actually threats. Keep it clean. The goal is not to win an argument. The goal is to direct energy. Here is a line you can steal for the next confrontation. You're right on the principle. Given that, which trade-off do you prefer? It is simple, disarming, and powerful. Try it once today. When someone pushes, don't push back. Tilt, name, agree with the sliver of truth. Offer the fork. Watch how the room subtly leans your way. That is the quiet turn of power. Power rarely shouts. It arranges the furniture. The people in the room think they are deciding where to sit. yet the chairs were placed long before they arrived. That is the obedience law. People do not obey you. They obey the structure you make feel inevitable. Obedience starts before orders are spoken. It starts with clarity so sharp it cuts through the noise. When people know the single sentence that governs the game, they move without friction. Confusion is revolt in slow motion. So you state the rule in plain words, the kind a tired person can repeat. Not a speech, not a philosophy lecture, just a clear North Star that everyone can point to when storms rise. Then you give the rule a heartbeat. Charisma drifts, cadence dominates. A clock beats a smile every time. Set a rhythm and keep it. Rituals are not decoration. They are levers. The meeting that always starts on the same minute. The report delivered on the same day. The first action always assigned before anyone leaves the room. When people can predict the next step, they stop debating whether to take it. Consequence is the spine. Praise what you want to see again. Correct what violates the rule, and do both without heat. Weak power swings a heavy hammer once and calls it strength. Real power uses a light tap every time. The certainty of response matters more than the size. People do not fear the punishment. They fear the randomness. Make your world feel consistent, and obedience follows like a shadow. Distance is a tool. Too close, and you become a friend asking for a favor. Too far, and you become a ghost. Hold a measured space. Be accessible on purpose, not by default. Let your words travel a few inches farther than your presence. Mystery is not manipulation. It is room for authority to breathe. Symbols do heavy lifting. You never have to speak aloud. The document everyone must sign, the wall where winds are posted, the phrase that marks the start of work. Uniforms are not only clothing, they are behaviors that tell the group who is on mission. Choose a few symbols and keep them sacred. People obey what they can see. Defaults decide more than debates. When the door swings shut unless someone holds it open, most doors stay shut. Set the default to the behavior you want and watch energy return to the system. Make the good choice the easy choice. Make the bad choice require effort and exposure. It is not force, it is gravity. Obedience is public, even when the promise is private. When someone says, "I will," let the room hear it. Not to shame them later, but to anchor them now. Humans keep promises they think others have recorded. You do not need a witness stand, only a moment where commitment is spoken and acknowledged. A nod can be a contract. Care makes obedience ethical. People will give you compliance for fear, but they will give you loyalty for care. Ask one question that proves you see the human, not just the role. Follow up once, even when there is nothing to gain. The point is not softness, it is legitimacy. When people believe you are fair and steady, they accept boundaries as a form of safety, not control. Here is the quiet trick. You are training the room as much as any person. Culture remembers and repeats. The first correction teaches everyone. The first exception teaches everyone even faster. Every time you let something slide, you write a new rule. This is now allowed. Set your exceptions carefully, or you will erase yourself while smiling. Years ago, a leader took over a team that was drifting. No one was malicious. They were simply unaligned. He did not storm in with threats. He wrote a single-sentence mission on a board so plain a child could understand it. He set one ritual, a short stand-up at the same time every morning, where each person said one commitment out loud. He praised the smallest act that matched the mission. He corrected the smallest act that did not. He kept a calm distance, always reachable, never idle in the middle. Within weeks, the team moved like a single body. Agreement did not lead, obedience did. Agreement arrived later, carried by results. Use the obedience law gently and precisely. Make clarity the law, cadence the engine, consequence the teacher, distance the amplifier, symbols the memory, defaults the gravity, and care the soul. You are not hunting for power over people. You are building a structure people can lean on. When the structure is sound, obedience happens without shouting, and the room arranges itself. Power doesn't conquer first, it edits. Before a throne is taken, a script is rewritten. The most reliable rule behind closed doors is simple and ruthless. Divide reality. Not people, not teams. Reality. Split how the world is seen, and you split how it can be acted upon. Think about a stage with a single spotlight. Wherever the light goes, the audience believes the story is happening there. Power moves the light. When a debate erupts, the skilled player does not fight all the facts. They pick the frame because the frame decides which facts survive long enough to matter. The rest fall into darkness, and no one argues about what they cannot see. Divide reality by language. You do not call it a problem, you call it a trade-off. You do not call it a cut, you call it a reallocation. Rename the thing, and you redraw the map people use to navigate. Once the map changes, arguments reroute themselves. Slogans outgun statistics because they store a frame in a handful of words. If your phrase fits in a breath, you win the next hour. Divide reality by options. Most people believe they are choosing freely as long as they see more than one path. Power sets the paths. Offer two choices that both steer toward your preferred outcome, and watch people defend their freedom while walking in your direction. The trick is not to remove choice, it is to design it. Put your preferred door under brighter light, and put a warning sign on the door you least want. They will thank you for the guidance. Divide reality by timeline. Today feels urgent, tomorrow feels abstract. If you need support now, compress the future into a fog. Promise that uncertainties will be reviewed, studied, revisited. If you need patience, stretch the horizon. Speak in seasons and systems. People trade intensity for duration when the story nudges them to do so. You decide whether the clock is a sprint or a slow march. Divide reality by witness. The person who tells the story first becomes the reference point. The person who repeats it most becomes the authority. Seed your version early with people who already command trust in the room. You are not just transmitting facts, you are assigning custodians to those facts. When others speak, they unknowingly compare themselves to your witnesses, not to the truth. Divide reality by uncertainty. A confused crowd does not rush the stage. It looks for a guide. Introduce just enough ambiguity that people hesitate to declare strong positions without your help. Then offer a simple through line, a handrail through the fog. You appear not as the controller, but as the clarifier. People follow the person who gives their confusion a spine. Here's the quietest move of all. Create a conflict that only you can resolve. Two groups, two metrics, two goals. Step between them with language that converts opposition into a trade. The more they argue with one another, the more they rely on you to keep the exchange alive. Power grows tallest in the space between factions. You do not need them to agree. You need them to keep talking through you. A story makes this concrete. A company is failing to launch a product. Engineers want quality. Sales wants speed. Meetings are loud. Nothing ships. The head of product stops trying to win the debate. Instead, she splits reality into two lanes, a prestige line and an express line. She renames them to signal status and momentum. She sets different success proofs and timelines. She gives each side a win they can own, and she positions herself as the translator between lanes. The company ships twice. She did not solve the conflict. She reframed it so it could produce motion. There is a moral edge here, and you will feel it. Dividing reality can be used to manipulate or to manage complexity. The difference is intent and transparency. If you want to protect yourself from others using this on you, ask 3 checks. What frame am I being handed? What options are being presented as the only ones? What timeline is being smuggled into my urgency? When you name the light loses some of its power. But if you aim to lead, remember this. People do not want a perfect world. They want a workable one. divide reality, so action becomes possible. Name the trade-offs, shape the choices, stretch or shrink time with purpose. Then claim the role of the person who reduces confusion into movement. The throne is not at the top of the hill. It is wherever decisions coagulate. Move the light, and the room will move with it. Power rarely wears a name tag. It lives in the quiet details that tilt a room without raising a voice. Notice the person everyone turns toward when there's confusion, the one who speaks slowly and makes the whole table wait. That's a symbol of status, not the logo, not the loud entrance, the pace. We're taught to chase the obvious signs, the car, the corner office, the calendar stuffed to bursting. But the deeper signal of power is not what you own. It's what you can refuse. Not just accumulation, but optionality. The ability to say no without apology. The ability to take a beat and let the silence do the heavy lifting. The ability to be last to speak and still set the direction. Imagine a tense meeting. Two colleagues are competing to sound the smartest, voices rising with each sentence. Then a third person says, "Let's pause. What decision actually matters here?" Everyone stops. The energy drops into focus. One question, measured and calm, resets the room. Psychologically, we respond to this kind of composure because it signals safety and control. When someone isn't rushing, our nervous system takes a breath and follows theirs. Or, think about time. A packed schedule can look important, but true status often shows up as margin. The person who builds in white space has leverage to think, to choose, to redirect. It's not the pause at the end, it's part of the system. How they make decisions without being dragged by every incoming request. The symbol isn't the full calendar, it's the focused one. It's not about doing less, it's about doing what actually matters, then walking away with energy to spare. There's also the status of attention. Most people listen in order to reply. High status people listen in order to understand. They don't rush to fill the gap. They make the other person feel seen first. You can hear it in small moments. Someone says, "This rollout has me anxious." The reflex is to offer fixes. But the move that changes the conversation is, "I hear that. It's a lot to carry. What part feels heaviest?" That kind of listening lowers defenses and builds trust. And trust is a form of power that can't be faked. Another symbol is clarity. Not the complicated sentence that proves you've read everything, but the simple sentence that shows you've understood the core. Status is being able to compress the noise into a clear choice. Here are the two paths. If we pick speed, we accept risk. If we pick safety, we accept delay. It's not just knowledge, it's judgment. It signals you can hold complexity without collapsing under it. Boundaries are a symbol too, not the brittle kind that repel, but the steady kind that orient. I can help with that on Thursday afternoon. No drama, no guilt, just a firm line that still respects the relationship. People feel safer around someone whose yes means yes and whose no means no. Paradoxically, the clearer your limits, the more people trust you with what's inside them. Courtesy is its own quiet crown. Status doesn't always rise by standing taller. Sometimes it rises by making room. Remember the leader who gives credit by name, who says the intern's idea out loud, who opens the floor for voices that usually get drowned. That doesn't shrink their power, it multiplies it. When people feel respected, they bring their best. When they bring their best, the whole project elevates. That upward draft carries the person who created it. If you want to collect symbols of status that last, collect these. Pace that settles a room, time you control instead of time that controls you, attention that disarms, clarity that cuts through, boundaries that guide, courtesy that dignifies. Psychologically, these cues work because they signal agency and safety, and we are wired to follow what steadies us and protects the group's well-being. You don't need to announce power when you embody it. Let your yes be considered. Let your no be clean. Let your questions be few and exact. Let your presence lower the pulse rate in the room. Those are symbols of status that can't be bought and don't need to be shown off. They're felt. And when people feel them, they remember who made them feel that way. Power rarely shouts. It whispers through calendars and quiet glances, through the word later that somehow means never, and through favors that come gift-wrapped with invisible strings. That is the subtle threat, the unspoken cost that appears when you do not comply. Even though no one raised their voice or put anything in writing, you have felt it. A project stalls unless you loop in a certain executive. A partnership is green-lit, but not until procurement does their thing. And procurement just happens to report to the person who wants concessions from you. No one says, do this or else. The or else is implied by structure, timing, and access. Power works by engineering the context so that resistance becomes expensive. There are many faces of the subtle threat. Scarcity is one. A vendor says, I can hold this slot for a short while. Time becomes a pressure point they control, not you. Silence is another. A message goes unanswered, not angrily, just not at all. And the uncertainty makes you lower your ask to restart the conversation. Then there is the gate, the gentle reminder that legal, finance, or a steering committee must approve. And those gates sit where someone wants them to sit. You hear phrases like standard process, just policy, or my hands are tied. The threat is not in the words, it is in the maze those words reveal. Watch how it plays out in a room. Someone proposes a bold timeline. Another person smiles and says, love the ambition. Let us make sure our partners can support it. In that moment, control shifts to whoever defines support. The group nods because the ask sounded reasonable, but the timeline now depends on a chain of approvals, and each link is a quiet veto. If you push, you look reckless. If you wait, you lose momentum. That is the design. The subtle threat also lives in reputation. You sense that if you disagree too sharply, you will be labeled difficult, and difficult people get fewer invitations to important meetings. No one bans you. They just forget to add you. Your influence evaporates by omission. This is not an accident. It is a message. Play nice, or play outside. So, how do you spot it before it traps you? Listen for conditions that appear after agreement in principle. Yes, but, yes, once. Yes, if is the lever. Look for control of time, control of information, and control of access. When one person or department owns at least two of those, they can make you pay without ever saying the price. Notice who can delay things without consequence, who can say soon and mean whenever, and who can say later and mean never. Notice whose silence matters. Your best defense is daylight. Ask for the or else to be named. If a deadline is real, what breaks if it slips, and how would we know? If there is a policy, show me where it lives and what exceptions exist. If the price is only good today, what changed since yesterday? You are not attacking. You are clarifying the cost of choices, so the room sees the shadow on the wall, not just the silhouette someone wants you to admire. Reframe time. When someone weaponizes urgency, convert countdowns into milestones and consequences. Instead of, we must sign by Friday, ask what outcome Friday protects, what alternatives protect the same outcome, and who owns that risk. When someone uses silence, set respectful response norms up front. If we do not hear back by a certain day, we will proceed on the last agreed path. Now, silence stops being leverage and becomes consent. Distribute the gates. Build cross-functional pre-reads. Share drafts early. And keep a parallel path for critical decisions. The more a single person controls access, the higher the implied cost of disagreement. When you design process that makes approval a step rather than a cliff, subtle threats lose altitude. And if you must use power, use it cleanly. State the stakes and the reasons. Offer the alternative openly. I can commit the team this month if we drop the custom scope. Or we can keep the scope and target next quarter. Your choice. That is pressure, but it is transparent. People can disagree without fear of punishment hidden in the plumbing. Power that does not need to threaten becomes easier to trust. Power that relies on the subtle threat might win today, but it breeds quiet revolt and slow sabotage. Learn to hear the whisper, to name it, and to change the room so that the cost of honesty is never higher than the cost of silence. Power hides in reflections most people never notice. The faces across the table, the tone of a room, even the speed of a conversation. These are mirrors, quietly telling you how much influence you actually carry. The rule of mirrors is simple. People reflect the frame you bring. Change your frame, and the reflection changes with it. Walk into a meeting with rushed breath, hunched shoulders, and an apology on your lips, and watch the room speed up and step over your words. Enter with a measured pace, eyes steady, silence held for a heartbeat before you speak, and suddenly the room slows to your rhythm. Same people, same agenda, different mirror. Power is not just what you say. It is the tempo you set and what the world bounces back. Here is the part nobody explains. You do not seize control by pushing harder. You claim it by becoming the reference point others calibrate to. When you make your pace the norm, your language the map, and your boundaries the perimeter, others begin to orient by you. That is the mirror working in your favor. Start with your micro signals. Before you speak, drop your shoulders, take one clean breath, and look at a single person long enough to be felt, not long enough to be awkward. Speak a shade slower than your nerves demand. The first sentence should be simple, grounded, and declarative. No apologies, no throat clearing. You are telling the room what to mirror. Then, run a quiet mirror check. In the first few minutes, notice what comes back. Are people interrupting? They are reflecting that your sentences have too many exits. Are they fiddling and rushing? They are reflecting your speed. Are they leaning in and waiting? They are reflecting your presence. If you do not like the reflection, do not fight the people. Adjust the signal. Shorten your statements. Add a small pause after key phrases. Let your gaze rest calmly at the end of a sentence. The mirror follows. In negotiation, reflect structure, not posture. Do not copy their gestures, map their logic. Paraphrase their core concern in one tight line, then stop. Silence is the cloth that polishes the mirror. Most people fear it and race to fill it, shattering their own frame. Hold the space a breath longer than comfortable. You are teaching the room to mirror your patience. They will often correct themselves into your logic without you pushing an inch. Boundaries are also mirrors. What you tolerate, you teach. If someone speaks over you, do not speed up to squeeze in. Slow down and say, "Let me finish that thought," then continue in exactly the tone you had. That move tells the mirror you are not rattled, and the mirror learns fast. Generosity with clear edges is magnetic. Be helpful, but define the edge. I can do that by Friday. After that, my focus shifts to the launch. No anger, no justification, just the line, calmly drawn. The reflection will respect it because you respected it first. Your reputation is the mirror that walks into the room before you. What do people repeat when you are not there? That story is built from 1,000 small reflections. You keep your word, you do not gossip, you make decisions without flinching, you say no cleanly. Each becomes a signal the world reflects back as trust. Beware of needy mirroring, imitating slang, over-agreeing, laughing a beat too long. Those are signals of hunger, and the mirror returns only scarcity. Influence does not come from chasing likeness. It comes from offering a steady surface others can rely on. Try a day of mirror before move. Before you respond, adjust your breathing, align your posture, and choose the pace. Watch how people begin to sync. It feels like magic until you realize it is physics. Signals reflect, frames spread. The rule of mirrors is not a trick, it is a discipline. You do not force the world to bow, you teach it what to reflect. Set the tempo, hold the silence, draw the line. Let the room adjust to you, and when it does, do less, not more. Power is most visible when you no longer have to announce it. The mirror does that for you. Power often hides in the seconds nobody notices. The breath before the answer, the tilt of a chair, the quiet reset that moves a room without raising a voice. Control reset is a simple move with an outsized effect. When the pace, tone, or frame of a moment starts to work against you, you do not push harder. You pause, name what matters, and redraw the edges so everyone is playing the right game again. Psychologically, this short break interrupts the knee-jerk loop people fall into and creates a pocket of safety where minds reopen. Picture this. You're in a meeting and a colleague launches into rapid-fire critiques. The room starts to swarm around their energy. Instead of scrambling to defend every point, you lean back and breathe. Then you say, "Quick pause. I want to make sure we're solving the same problem. The outcome we all want is a clean launch without last-minute fire drills. If that's the goal, let's line up the risks in order and take them one at a time." The air changes. You did not win by volume. You shifted the frame from attack to alignment, from competition to connection, and the conversation follows you there. Here is another angle. A text thread with someone you care about goes sideways. You see the familiar pattern, long messages, defensive replies, rising heat. Old you would type faster. Control reset looks different. You send one line. "I care about this and I want to get it right. Can we start fresh for a minute?" When they say yes, you open with, "Here's what I heard, and here's what I was trying to say." Naming feelings first lowers emotional resistance and makes problem solving possible again. Why does this work? Our brains habituate. When a pattern repeats, people stop truly hearing each other and just run their script. A reset, even a brief one, breaks that autopilot and lets novelty in, which is why a fresh approach captures attention where repetition fails. And when you acknowledge what is true in the room, pressure, confusion, urgency, you create psychological safety. People become more cooperative once they feel seen and understood, which is the doorway to progress. Think of how athletes, musicians, and surgeons use deliberate pauses to recalibrate under stress. Those tiny beats improve judgment and performance precisely because they slow the moment down just enough to think again. Control reset has a few practical shapes. You can reset pace. Let's take 60 seconds, write the issues, then rank them. You can reset purpose. Before we debate, what does success look like today? You can reset roles. I'll listen and reflect back the top concerns, then we'll switch. Each version shifts the default from reactivity to clarity. And once clarity arrives, influence gets easier, not harder. Try it in small places so it is ready for big ones. When a friend vents, resist the fix and mirror what they feel before you offer anything. That single move tells their nervous system you were safe, which makes your next sentence land twice as well. When a project call derails, ask for a reset and state the shared target in plain language. When negotiations speed up, slow them on purpose. A thoughtful pause is not surrender, it is strategy. The hidden rule inside all of this is simple. The person who sets the frame sets the path. You do not need a louder argument, you need the first sentence that points everyone back to the real objective. You do not need to control people, you need to control tempo and context. Resetting is not retreat, it is leadership in its quietest form. So, when the moment tilts and the old pattern tries to pull you under, do the small, uncommon thing. Breathe. Name what matters. Redraw the edges. Each time you do, you turn a tug of war into a shared problem to solve, and that is where power becomes useful. In the end, control reset is not about being in charge of others. It is about being in charge of the moment and inviting everyone else to think clearly inside it.